like one of the best venues.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Okay.
Have you ever been there? It's a shithole.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. But when I say best, I mean like biggest. It's big.
Well, that's true because it was built. When it was built, they built things out. Now they build them more up.
Gotcha.
But
It's
actually, yeah. And Mark's been in every corner of it. He's been on the field. He's walked the bowels. He's been all the way up. No, not nice. Worst booth. One of the 3 worst booths in the NFL. Also,
Really?
yeah, awful.
It's
not a lot of room and small.
How old?
Well,
it's been there for 40 years, hasn't it?
40?
No, it's 50. Remember the mid 70s, Alabama, Penn State. I think Notre Dame, Alabama's Sugar Bowl was in the Superdome. I think it was just built. Superdome, I think, is close to 50.
Oh my God.
75. We were opened in 75.
Okay.
Wow. That is old.
All because of the Astrodome. We built a few domes. Built the Superdome. We built the Kingdom. What else?
No.
Metrodome?
No.
Wasn't that where the Vikings played also?
It was.
But yeah, that was early 80s that they moved from Metropolitan Stadium to the Metrodome. Listen, there are a lot of Vikings fans that don't think it's a coincidence that they haven't gone to the Super Bowl since they moved indoors.
I will never forget the shot of it on SportsCenter the next morning when all that snow plowed in through the roof. That was insane.
Yeah, that was Fox had a stationary camera posted. That's why they got that shot.
Got it. Do you hearing that? Or is that just my headsets with David when he speaks, or is that just me?
All right, hold on.
I'm getting a couple of pops.
Because I gotta admit my volume's on like 2. How about that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It sounds good on my end too.
There's no buzz?
No buzz at all. That hasn't happened in a while for whatever reason. So
okay.
Don't worry, play of the day is not NBA today.
Well, there was a no-hitter last night. It was a World Series game, so
right.
Exactly what it is. Yep.
It's not Tyler Hero, huh?
No, it's not.
But, I'm just a little surprised. I tell you what, if the Phillies had gotten one hit, it would have been.
I can't believe how of the opposite that game was compared to the last one.
That's the beauty of baseball right there.
Yes. Like
you literally never know. Every day you go to the ballpark.
That's why I love what Schwarber said. I don't give a shit.
Is that what's really?
Yeah, I don't give a shit. We got no hitter. We play tomorrow. Let's go.
Yeah. And besides, a loss, a loss. Who cares?
No difference between 10-0 and 1-0 in that sport.
Oh.
Exactly. Gotta love it.
Besides, they're going great. We got Verlander. We hit him last time we saw him. Let's go.
1.5 billion now.
I know. There were a few. There were like what 10 or so million and $2 million winners.
Right.
But
I wasn't one of those either.
No, me neither. In fact, I don't know if I had a number.
I had the first number on 2 of them. It was started with 2, and you go, ooh, that's a start. Right. I had the Powerball on 1, but nothing. I don't even think a Powerball gets you anything.
Doesn't get you $4.
I don't know.
I know. Every now and then my wife wins $4, and I'm like, whoa, what the hell do you have to win?
You have to have 1 and the Powerball for $4, but I'm not sure.
1 minute.
1 minute. Sorry, Adam. That had to be a big setback.
30 seconds.
Morning, Johnny Mac. Morning, Wancho. Adam.
Ten seconds.
Okay, all right.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this first Thursday of November. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Little history last night. Little history, though. So it wasn't big history. It was little history. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing well, David. I'm doing well. You're right. A little history. Something about that doesn't have the same glow of, well, one guy doing it.
Right. It feels like a footnote last night. And for those that don't know what we're talking about, the Phillies did not get a hit last night. But it wasn't one pitcher going 9 innings. So, it was one of those combined. And it's a very much a 2022 no-hitter, too. It was 4 guys. Starter went 6. I mean, 97 pitches. Oh, we got to get him out of there. I was listening on the radio at the time, Mark, because I was coming back from someplace. And Eduardo Perez is going, well, you got to protect his arm. Protect his arm? It's the World Series. It's his last start of the year. He's not coming back in Game 7. This is it. Empty the damn tank.
Win the damn game.
Right.
No. I don't have any problem with what they did last night. I have a problem with that in June. Guy's got 97 pitches, and I know that's the opposite of what it should be because we are protecting his arm in June, July, August, whatever the case may be. But let the guy go for a no-no on a random Tuesday. You got to win this game. I'm not pitching him 1 second longer than I think I need to pitch him. I don't care about the no-hitter. My only job is to get this sucker to the barn.
Well, you and I have the same goal. We just would have went about it differently because I would have left him in when the pitching coach goes, well, this is about as far as he's gone. And, he's approaching 100 pitches. And I would have turned and looked at him and gone, he hasn't given up a hit. I'm not taking him out of the game. He hasn't given up a hit. I don't care how many pitches he throws. It's the damn World Series. I'm not pitching him again until April. That's what I was thinking driving home. Protect his arm. Hell with his arm. I don't care if it falls off. It's a World Series. He hasn't given up a hit. But I thought it was funny. The Dusties, they've been on him this World Series about leaving his starters in too long. So the irony is he takes this guy out with a no-no after 6. And you're right, and I'm right. That's the beauty of baseball. Even after the fact.
After the game said, I don't give a blank that we got no hit. So we're in the history books. Big deal. We got a game tomorrow. It's 2-2.
In a perverted way, if you're Schwarber and the Phillies, you could be like, good, I'm glad we got this all out of the way on one night.
Damn right.
Let's go pound out 12 hits tomorrow. Besides, we got Verlander tomorrow. We pounded him last time we saw him. Let's go. But we got ourselves a series, man. Little 1-1-2-2 action. All right, now we're talking. Just feel badly. And the World Series it's doing okay. Not doing great. It's doing okay.
But we had one competitive game.
First one.
Right.
So they're doing around 11 or so million a game. That's what they're doing. Now, usually you get to game 6 and 7 of a World Series. Now the 3-4 extra million people start showing up. But it'll be Saturday night's game 6. For some of us, Clemson, Notre Dame, Alabama, LSU, that could be tough. Multiple TVs needed, Mark, Saturday night?
Absolutely. And I might even see if I can get the baseball game on one of them.
Damn. Then that's what I'm talking about. Then this is a World Series right here. Man. And off the top of my head, I don't know that. What's the Sunday NFL getting Sunday night? Oh, Tennessee, Kansas City. Game 7 of a World Series versus Tennessee, Kansas City. That'd be interesting head-to-head. Both on network television. Can baseball compete with the NFL for one night if it's a Game 7?
And it is Mahomes. So it is a marquee NFL quarterback. I mean, they'll sell Mahomes, Derrick Henry as hard as they can in that one, but it's really Mahomes.
Correct.
And it's the NFL.
Right.
Which doesn't lose these type of battles.
Very often. And by very often, we mean like 1986. So we got ourselves a World Series. And we've had two, the Phillies came back from 5-0 down to win Game 1. Got us off to a rousing start with an extra inning game. And then here we go. We got a combined no-hitter by Houston. Even the series at 2-2. Mattress Mac doesn't have to, be cursing at Philadelphia fans leaving the ballpark last night. He's posing, taking pictures. Did you see him? He was there 3 hours before the first pitch. 3 hours.
Apparently, when you gamble that much, bet that much money, you can get in for batting practice, David. Otherwise, you're not allowed in the ballpark that early.
Exactly. That's what I thought. I'm like, wait, he's down on the field at 5:25? Hey, I'm Mattress Mac. Oh, right this way. Hey, how much money you need to let me in? I got $75 million riding on this series. How much of it do you want? Remember last time he had huge money on the Astros in the World Series. They lost the Game 7 at home with the Nats. So, he could be sweating out another Game 7 at home. Don't you have to hedge that sucker?
Yes.
I mean, especially now that it's 2-2. And what if, somebody comes up to you and goes, I'll give you $20 million. How much do you need to turn in that ticket? What did he bet? 4? 4 or 5 on the Astros winning the World Series before the season started? And now he can win 75.
Yeah, but there's 4, and then he has betted a couple times. He's got more than $4 million invested in this.
So how much, if you're him, how much do you need to, walk? Okay, I'll walk away.
Well, first off, for him, I don't think there is a number.
No, I'm with you.
I think this is totally part of his marketing scheme. He's done very well in his, you're not flying around on private jets making these bets because you're not selling mattresses.
Or getting in that car and driving across state lines to rural Louisiana and pulling over going, hold on, I got to place this bet. Hey, speaking of placing bets, quick tangent. So Ohio is getting sports betting on January 1st. Did you see who is placing the first bet in state history in Ohio?
Urban Meyer.
Pete Rose.
Of course he is.
Now but for both sides, I'm sorry, that's funny.
It is.
I mean, at this point, what does Pete have to lose? Okay, and if you're Ohio, you get a little publicity out of it, little tongue-in-cheek, the whole deal. Sure. I mean, arguably most notorious sports bettor in Ohio history, Pete Rose.
Absolutely. And I know for a fact Art Schleister's not available.
Well, that's true. He might have been second in line. He might have been. That's true. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when I saw that, I had to laugh. I go, oh, well, okay, everybody's kept their sense of humor with this. That's good to see.
Doesn't he have to bet the under season-long red win total no matter what?
What he has to do somehow, some way, as he's placing the first bet, he needs to turn around, look at the camera, and go, where are you going to go?
Bally's, Ohio, your home for
Exactly.
sports win.
And then Pete turns around and looks at the camera and goes, "Where are you going to go?" Oh, my goodness. You'd have even more money bet. This Reds fans. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Let's just, poke the Reds in the eye while we're doing it.
Well, and that's the beauty of doing a deal with Pete for this. You don't even have to pay him cash. You just have to give him money on his account.
Exactly.
You'll get it all back eventually.
Right. Pete will pay you $1 million. Or we could just, put it in your account. What do you say? First bet's on us. It's like, what is it? All those companies,
All of them.
You place the first bet $5, we put $250 in your account. Right. They know they're getting it back. Come on. It's us.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, it is. They're playing the percentages. But a combined no-no last night. It's only the third no-hitter of any kind. It's only the third no-hitter in Major League Baseball postseason history.
The Larson perfect game.
And,
Roy Halladay had one in the divisional round.
Yeah.
And last night.
Yeah. So first one in the World Series since 1956. Hello. Here you go. Going Eisenhower administration early. Kind of like it.
And ultimately, it gives us 2-2.
Yeah.
3 series.
All right. That's what we're talking. Last home game in Philadelphia tonight. They saved their voices last night, so they are going to let it all hang out tonight.
And Nola, who was on the mound last night for the Phillies, was on the mound earlier this season when the Phillies were no hit. Becomes I think he's like the third pitcher ever to have combined no hitters that he has pitched in. Not pitched, but he was the losing pitcher.
Well, and on the other side, the Astros had a combined no hitter against the Yankees earlier this year. Who was the starting pitcher? Last night's starting pitcher. He went 7 no-hit innings in that game. Last night he goes 6. One of these years, Mark, he'll be allowed to finish one of these, right?
At least you got to think so. Actually, no, you don't. He'll never be allowed to finish one.
What's your goal? 1 complete game for the season? No, my career.
My career.
1. Bert Blyleven is listening this morning, shaking his head, going, they would have had to arrest me to get me out of the game.
He's one of hundreds of pitchers that I'm sure just look at that and shake their head and go, what? 97 pitches and they're taking me out?
I just Skip, I haven't given up a hit. What are we doing? Miller and Moulton. I have a great show lined up for you. We'll tell you about it next.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So I just went and had a conversation with my wife. And she goes, "How did it go last night?" I said, "Well, it went well. And we had a no-hitter. We had some history." She goes, "Oh, you know how sometimes you just hear it, what they say, and you're like, oh, she's just paying lip service."
Mm-hmm.
And so I go, "Do you know what that means?" And she goes, and I quote, "Boring." I just turned around and walked away.
Aggies or gig 'em, right? That's their little hashtag thing, right? That's their
Yep.
All right.
That's her thing.
All right. So Cannata NFL. I forgot to send the tweet out. I'm sending it right now.
Yeah, good. If he responds, then that'll be good.
Well, you got an email too.
Well, let's hope we're waking him up. It's retractable. KW. Remember the Yankees kind of complained game 2 of the LCS. They opened the roof for only like the second time all year. And the wind was blowing in from right field, and it kept the Aaron Judge fly ball in the ballpark in a 1-run game. Thank you, Mongo. That's nice of you. And I'm not saying this to be a jerk, but within a half an hour of the show ending, Mark and I have no idea if it was a good show or not. We really don't. We move on to other things, and in fact, I talked to somebody yesterday who referenced something we did in the show, and it was like 3 hours after the show, and I didn't even know what they were talking about. Well, baseball is in charge of the dome and the roof, not the Astros. In the regular season, the Astros are. In the playoffs, Major League Baseball determines whether stadium roofs are open or closed.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes after the early hour. Thanks for being with us. Hope your week's going well as we head for home, right? Is Thursday a little too far away from the weekend to say down the stretch we come? Is that Friday?
Ooh, that's a great question.
You know,
And
we're
I think I definitely think we're rounding the turn heading to the home stretch, if you know what I mean. I don't know if you could get and down stretch they come.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's a little early for that.
Right. It's Churchill Downs or Belmont. You come around that last turn, you still got a long way to go to get home.
I think I pulled something doing that.
Take it easy there, big fella. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. You know, it was going to take something to make the first thing that we talked about today not Daniel Snyder. And so that's why the Phillies and the Astros had to have that combined no-hitter thing. But so what was your reaction the first time you heard after our show yesterday? The news broke within like an hour or so after our show yesterday that, oh, by the way, Daniel Snyder and his wife, they've called Bank of America and they're like, yeah, start looking into selling the team. I'm sorry, what?
That was what the hell is going on was my initial reaction. Because it was not even a month ago that they said
2 weeks. 2 weeks when people were coming at him, and he basically said he was Charlton Heston, you know, in front of the NRA those many years ago when he said, you know, you'll rip this rifle out of my cold, dead hands. You know, that was Daniel Snyder 2 weeks ago. I'm never selling the team. In October, that was the part apparently we didn't hear. He said, I'm never selling the team in October, Mark. That's what he meant.
Well, and, you know, ESPN then last night dropped a story that the U.S. Attorney's Office is investigating the Commanders over financial improprieties. That's the feds.
Right. You think there's a coincidence here?
No, I don't think there's coincidence at all. No, because the feds' track record when they decide they're going to investigate is usually really strong.
Well, whether they have the goods or not, their track record's pretty strong. I mean, if somebody wants to come after you and railroad you, they come after you. Damn. So, yeah, there's that. Because, you know, Mark, the NFL's still conducting their investigation. You know, that's why no one in the NFL will officially comment, because we have an investigation going on. I love those charades. I really do. We can't comment. There's an investigation going on. Yeah, actually, you can.
Yeah, your investigation really isn't that important on the grand scheme of things. You could comment as much as, in fact, you could comment as much as you want during the investigation.
Right.
It wouldn't affect the investigation.
No. And quite frankly, we've seen how you guys do investigations, and it's got a little more credibility than the college football playoff committee, but just a little. Just a little. Yeah. So, it seems as if one has something to do with the other.
And how could that be?
Wait, I'm never selling the team. Well, the feds are looking into financial irregularities. Call Bank of America.
And gas up the yacht.
Right.
We're going on a road trip.
So he paid $800 million for this franchise in 1999. One playoff win, by the way. That's all he's got. He's got one playoff win. And that was with Joe Gibbs. Everybody, thinks his second go around wasn't successful. He made the playoffs twice, won a playoff game. May not seem like much compared to the first go around, but if you look at everybody in and around him for 20 years, not bad. So $800 million. Did you see the first figure that was thrown out there as to what do they think he can get?
Well, Forbes values it at like 5.6, and that means he's going to get 6.5, 7.
Denver got 4.65. The Broncos were seen as the 10th to 12th most valuable franchise. Whether we as fans think of the now Commanders as valuable or not does not matter. When they have always done the list of NFL franchises, the Washington franchise has always been at the bottom of the top 5. Whether we see that franchise that way or not. That franchise, you've got the Cowboys and you got the Giants and the Patriots because of the run that they were on. But even that's probably going down a little bit. But, Washington has always been in the top 5. So if Denver, who is at the bottom of the top 10, they're like LSU in the playoff rankings. And the Commanders are Michigan in the playoff rankings. So if they're valued at 5.6, here's the other factor in this. They want a new stadium. And a lot of people believe they need one. That basically the one they're in now that's about 30 years old, they didn't do a very good job with it. Remember, the railings have collapsed and there's been a few instances. And so people, and I will say it's out in the middle of nowhere, a horrible parking situation.
Pipes bursting as well.
Yeah. On the way to it is the grounds for the old RFK Stadium. And apparently that's federal land. So that land would have to be given back to the franchise if they actually want to build their new stadium on the site of where their old stadium was. That's all it's. And basically the people who own the land, the District of Columbia, has said, well, we won't give it to Snyder, but if somebody else buys the team, yeah, we'll probably give it to him for $1. So that's the other part, Mark, that goes with this equation. Why was Kroenke allowed to move the Rams to L.A.? Because he said, well, I'll build you a stadium and I'll pay for it. Well, Chera and Kraft looked at one another and said, we got to put this franchise in Los Angeles. And Mark, I have a feeling whoever ends up with this team, it's also going to be put $2 billion on top of it because they're going to have to build a stadium and pay for it.
You're probably right. And when Bezos buys it, he'll gladly do that. Sorry. He wants a team. He's as rich as they come.
He already owns the Washington Post. He already owns the newspaper that covers the damn team. And he's got the whole big thing that he's doing in around within a half an hour from there from a business standpoint. It's revolutionary. So, Mark, I would seem to think we can get this done by Thanksgiving, don't you?
It seems like it would be really easy. And there's already been, I know he's one, but there's already been, names already surfacing of people that'll buy this franchise. This will not last an hour. It's like real estate in Southwest Florida right now.
So there you have it. How about that for a not slow news day? Daniel Snyder and his wife basically saying, oh, all right, I guess we'll sell. Wow. I'm sorry. Let me pull over on the side of the road. What?
right? 2 of the top 10 franchises in the league are going to sell inside of a year. It's going to net the league over $11 billion when it's all said and done. Miller and Moulton, just trying to scrape together $11, not $11 billion. The starting 5 is coming up next, and you'll find out everything you haven't heard already on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Dandy, are you seriously in India? Seriously? You're in India? What the hell time is it? 4 in the afternoon? 6 o'clock at night?
Want to guess what the least valuable franchise is, according to Forbes?
Well, I would guess Jacksonville.
The Bengals.
Hold on. 1.8.
3. That's the bottom.
The least valuable franchise.
The Lions are 31. Cardinals are 30. Bills are 29. Jacksonville 28. The LA Rams are a top 5 franchise now with that stadium. It goes Cowboys, Patriots, Rams, Giants, Bears, Commanders. The Raiders are now the 9th most valuable franchise.
Damn.
Think about what that move has done for him.
New stadium also.
It goes with the move, but yes.
Which you didn't pay a dime for.
Oh, Vegas paid for that stadium?
100%.
Wow.
And the state. Yep.
Cavaliers are good.
Yeah, and they're fun.
I've been on the show for over a year now, and the whole time I've always been fond of the Cavs.
I think I said it earlier in the week. If my mom wasn't in town, I would have flown into Cleveland earlier than I did because the Knicks were playing at 6 o'clock. Then I would have gone.
That would have been awesome.
Uh-huh.
And they're young too.
Mm-hmm.
They're all so young. Kevin Love is like the grandpa on that team.
Dolphins. You got that list in front of you?
Yep.
Hold on. Let me guess. First off, I'm guessing they're more valuable than the Bucks.
Oh, way more valuable than the Bucks.
Okay.
Bucks are, for the record, they're 24th.
Wow. Barely ahead of Jacksonville.
Yeah. And the Jags are worth 3.475. The Bucks are worth 3.675.
Miami worth about 4.25.
Well, you are right on par here. Let me find it again. I think it's a little more than that. A little more than that. A little more than 4.5. A little north of 4.5. They're at 4.6, they say.
Where do they come in?
13th.
Imagine if they start winning.
And no, the Zags don't play football, not at a Division I level. If they play, I don't think they play at all, do they?
They might be in that Pioneer League, which is a non-scholarship, glorified club football. I think Stetson plays in it.
Is there ever such a thing as A-Sun football?
Nope.
Yeah, they haven't played football since 1941.
That's why they're losing schools.
Interesting.
They tried to strike up a partnership with the Big South where you could stay in the A-Sun but play your football in the Big South. And that worked for a little while.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. We're hopeful to have Matt Cannata on the show in an hour. Roy Cummings on the show and top of the 8 o'clock hour. Dr. Roto 2 hours from now. And Gator fans, I know this may be Florida State Miami week on the show, but we haven't forgotten about you. You know, kicking guys off the team, trying to stay bowl eligible, that whole deal. Year one, Billy Napier. We'll do a little Gators A&M preview. Also check in on Jimbo Fisher. How's life in the pursuit of happiness going? We'll do that in the bonus hour. Right now it's time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
not only did the Astros beat the Phillies last night to even the series at 2, they no-hit them. How about that? 4 pitchers, no hits, 2 walks. That's it, baby. Top of the 5th, Houston scored 5 runs. That was it. That was all the scoring. That 25 minutes was it. 5-0 Houston. First home loss in the playoffs for the Phillies. They're now 6-1 at home. And the no-hitter, the 3rd ever in Major League Baseball postseason history. 2nd in World Series history. The only other one in the World Series was Don Larsen's perfect game in Game 5 of the 56 World Series against the Brooklyn Dodgers. That's it. So series tied at 2, and Mark, this is your guy. He was on your team. We all know he's going to the Hall of Fame. But tonight, Justin Verlander gets the ball for the Astros. He's their number 1 starter. And he's facing Philadelphia's number 4 starter, Noah Syndergaard, who has done something in his career that Verlander hasn't. He's won a World Series game. Because in 2015 with the Mets, their only win against the Royals, he was the starter. Got the win. Mark, how much does Justin Verlander need to win tonight?
I think this is, obviously now we're looking at this could be the series. When you're in this situation, you don't want to go down 3-2. But for Verlander personally,
right,
his playoff numbers are good. His World Series numbers are terrible.
Correct.
He desperately needs this game to fulfill a career to me.
That he just needs to have the one World Series win, right? Can't go, because not only that, he's 0-6 officially, ERA's around 6, but he's had 10 or more starts. I mean, he's had a lot of World Series starts between Detroit and Houston.
Yeah.
One win. One. It's remarkable. It's a Hall of Fame career. Like you said, the other rounds of the playoffs, his numbers are, Hall of Fame. They're that good. And in the World Series, batting practice. Unbelievable. Can he get one? And here's the other thing. What's he, 39? Mark, how many more starts is he going to get in the World Series?
Well, he was asked about that, and he's like, it's too early to say if it's my last start for the Astros, but couldn't you see Justin Verlander winning? The Astros winning the World Series, and Verlander saying, sayonara.
Right. I'll take my Cy Young Award, and I'll see you in 5 years in Cooperstown.
Yeah, Kate and I are going to go take a trip.
Right, for the next couple years.
Right.
So anyway, Verlander against Syndergaard tonight. Last game in Philly. They're going up against Thursday Night Football on Amazon. And come on, you have to acknowledge the quirk that Houston and Philly in baseball are playing in Philadelphia, and Houston and Philly in football are playing on the same night in Houston. Come on. What are the odds? How many people in Philly are even going to watch a football game?
Ooh, they're undefeated.
I know.
They're undefeated.
But it ain't getting the big TV.
No. It's getting the in-between innings, in-between pitches. The remote control is going to be worked overtime in the greater Philadelphia area today. Cars are going to be packed.
Eagles are a 13.5-point favorite. 13.5 on the road in Houston against the 1-5-1 Texans. Hello. Over-under's 45.5. Basically, Vegas is saying 30-16. Okay. Sounds about right. 7-0 Eagles looking to go to 8-0 Thursday Night Football tonight. On the same day, the feds acknowledged that they're investigating the Commanders' finances. Lo and behold, Daniel Snyder and his wife announce they've hired Bank of America to sell the team. Now, there are some people who said, they didn't technically say that, that they're going to sell the whole team. Right. They could be looking for minority investors for up to 40%. And also they're looking into it. They didn't say that they were absolutely, positively, definitely going to do it. Looking into selling the team. We all think Dan knows the Fed's got the goods. And to avoid maybe some of this stuff getting out publicly, well, what if I took my money and left? Could this whole thing go away? Wink, wink, nod, nod. No, never been done before. Snyder bought the team for $800 million in '99. Forbes estimates the team going at $5.6 billion. So that's 7 times the value of what he bought it at in a little less than a quarter century. Mark, You're a real estate agent. Is that pretty good?
That would be a
value?
pretty good return on your investment there, David.
Okay. I didn't know. I know, you handle some properties and what they bought it for and what they're
Right.
looking for. And
Could I get
that
that
whole-
listing, please? My own personal Powerball right there.
got that right. What is 3% of 5.6 billion? I think it's like 170 million. Chargers wide receiver Keenan Allen, by the way. So apparently, during the bye week and everything, he was doing great. And then, started working out and tweaked his hamstring again. So he's had a setback. And he says, listen, I am not playing unless I'm 100%. I'm not going through this anymore. Not re-injuring my hamstring. I'm either 100% or I'm not playing. Remember, Mike Williams got hurt. And so now, the thought was, Williams is out, but Allen was going to come back. If Allen's also going to be out, then maybe the 4-3 Chargers are going to have a hard time holding on to that final playoff spot. Just saying. College football last night, Maction, baby. Remember, it's November. We do Tuesday night Maction. We do Wednesday night Maction. And Mark, my little theory, not going to believe this, not working. I know, shocking. Me picking games, not working. I said, come on, we got games on Tuesday and Wednesday nights. Can't bet on the road teams. I mean, come on. Short week. Bada bing, bada boom. Yeah, road teams split the 4 games and went 3-1 against the number. Central Michigan won outright on the road last night at Northern Illinois by 13. And Western Michigan covered on the road, losing to Bowling Green 13-9. So once again, David Moulton makes predictions about betting college football. Run like Daniel Snyder away from the feds away. College basketball season starts Monday, Mark. Kansas,
They lowered the boom, David.
they sure did. 5 years ago, Bill Self and his staff accused of wrongdoing.
No, 5 years ago, Bill Self and his staff cheated.
Well, that's technically wrongdoing.
Well, it's sugar-coated.
Mark, it's college sports. The whole thing is sugar-coated. It's like Frosted Flakes sugar-coated.
I used to love a Frosted Flake. Too sugary in my adult age.
No, really?
Yeah, I can't do it anymore.
Is that like drinking, Pepsi? And you go, oh, wow, this is sweet. I used to drink this stuff.
It very much is. Like, you could probably do one bowl every 6 months and go, ooh, I remember this. But other than that, it's just sugar overload.
I have to admit, and, I don't eat cereal. So when the time comes that I have a bowl of Frosted Flakes, my face is like cannonballing into that bowl. That's how much I love it. I'm like, oh my goodness. It's like when you get the 2-night stay at the 5-star hotel with the amazing pool, and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to do all the touristy things in this hotel. I'm going to wear all of the robes in the room. When does the pool open and when does it close? Yes, I'm using the steam, the whole thing. Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm even going to wear the slippers.
Hotel robes are underrated.
I agree. I've yet to steal one, though. Okay.
It's tough to fit in the bag. There's a lot of girth to that robe.
Yeah, there is. But, it can be done. Anyway, college hoop starts Monday. And Kansas, as Mark said, they lowered the boom on their head coach, Bill Self. They suspended him 4 games.
Whew.
Almost 1 game for every year that the investigation's been going on. So there you go. He'll be back for like the Battle of Atlantis or whatever. Now, I will say they did win the national championship, and they do have that whole ceremony, the banner and the whole deal. I mean, in theory, he's not going to be there for it. Or do you let him stand there and watch and then you escort him off the court? I don't know. But, I mean, I was there when he won his first championship. They started the next season. They opened with FGCU. It's big ceremony and all that. basketball's kind of important to them in Lawrence, Kansas. I mean, this football thing's been cute, but all it did is kill the time till November.
You got that right.
Speaking of the Big 12, did you hear the news?
I did.
Gonzaga wants to be in the Big 12. I just have one question. What the hell's the Pac-12 been doing then? Hello?
Well, they don't play football. What?
Well, right. Okay, well, but they're a get. I mean, come on. You'd add them to your conference, wouldn't you?
I guess.
So you go find one more school that doesn't play football. You bring them in for all the other sports. Or hell, if you just bring them in for basketball. You can play in the West Coast Conference with all your other sports. We don't care. We just want you for the hoops. You want to come? We'll take you. But seriously, you're the Pac-12. I don't know if they're aware. They're losing USC and UCLA. You wouldn't want to replace one of those two with, I don't know, Gonzaga? Hello? What am I missing?
It's a basketball-only school. There's no money in that sport.
Well, there's some money.
What does getting Gonzaga, that Big 12 contract that's just been done, what are they going to add $1 million to it for Gonzaga? What does that get them? And I'm being dead serious here, David.
Okay. I think it's got just a smidge of value. You remember, if you make the tournament, it's a cut for not just you, but the conference. I mean, it's a little bit of money. You're right. I mean, Mark, you're right. I don't even think it's an appetizer. College hoops may just be a dessert now in the whole meal, but a little something for the effort. No? All right.
I guess.
Press for time here. Tyler Hero hit a 3 with less than 2 seconds to go. Heat beat Sacramento by 3. Cavs won their 6th in a row. They beat Boston by 1 in overtime. The Bucks are 7-0. They beat Detroit by 25. Let's see. Luka has started the season with 7 straight 30-plus point efforts. That hasn't happened very often. And the Lakers beat New Orleans in overtime, 120-117. 2 games in hockey, and we
got both of those right, David.
I did. I said, the road teams have both played the night before. They'll be tired. Take the home teams who are rested. Toronto got a hat trick from Tavares and beat the Flyers 5-2, and Pittsburgh blew another third-period lead. They gave up 5 and lost to Buffalo 6-3. And that was the starting 5. So there.
So there is right. I like it.
Yeah. So you think Gonzaga brings nothing to the Big 12?
I don't think it brings nothing, but it doesn't. I don't know how much value there is to college basketball adding a team. I don't know if they're ripping up television contracts because Gonzaga is joining the conference. I know it has some value. I just don't think that there's a lot left for college basketball. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com, flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, Only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
No, I moved to Jacksonville, family reasons. Who's going to do FGCU games? Tom James and John Vitas will do play-by-play. Greg Anderson will do color, a local high school coach. I don't know who's doing the women. I mean, I know it'll be either Tom or John doing play-by-play, but I don't know who's doing color.
Tom still drives down from Ocala to do that crap?
I know. I mean, I could have done it.
I'd love to do a game or two, but I can't even step into the middle of that.
Yeah, I don't know actually, because I know what they're paying. I don't know if you'd do it.
Yeah, I would. I guarantee you that I would.
Okay.
I guarantee you that I would.
All right.
For a lot of different reasons.
Hold on a second. KW, the value of what you purchased in 23 years went up times 7. How is that not a good return?
40 seconds, or my bad, 20 seconds. Matt Ryan to the rescue. Who would have thunk it?
What?
What?
Lakers shooting guard Matt Ryan.
Oh, gotcha.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this first Thursday in November. Whether we're rounding turn 4 on the week, down the stretch we come, whatever the case may be, approaching turn 4. You can see the finish line from here, can't you? Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We need a poll question. Got the Clutch Vodka play of the day coming up. And then we hope our regular Thursday interviews. Matt Cannata, Roy Cummings, Dr. Roto. Just keep that in mind. A little over an hour from now, start sending us your questions for Dr. Roto. Text them in, FSN Radio, all one word, 21,000. Or take us in via Twitch and send the questions in the Twitch chat room. You threw me there late last hour. Got to admit. I mean, we've been doing this a while. The one usually doesn't throw the other for a loop. You kind of threw me for a loop. About the whole, you think Gonzaga's worth about $5.30 in terms of the television contract in the Big 12.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's worth all kinds of money. I just don't see it. College basketball, and I get your tournament point. It would be a couple $1 million for each team, and if it's that.
I just think there are some conferences, like, let's be brutally honest, outside of Lexington, Kentucky, is there any school in the SEC that really cares about their basketball?
No.
Right. I mean,
Arkansas, maybe.
Yeah, okay. I'll grant you
say
that.
Arkansas.
Yeah, I'll grant you that. Going back to, the late 70s with Sidney Moncrief and taking him to a Final Four and Nolan Richardson's run for a generation. Yeah, I think you're right. I think they really care in Fayetteville. And they really care in Lexington. But every place else, like folks mentioned Tennessee and Auburn, I got to be honest with you. In Knoxville, they really care about the Lady Vols. The Vols kind of help kill time. And in Auburn, the basket, the Bruce Pearl, they like it. They love it. He's fun. They're fun. Come on. It's killing time till football season.
That's I think the point that David makes, if you want to extrapolate on it, if they went from being a top 20 team to being a bottom 5 team in the SEC, would anyone in Auburn freak out? No.
They wouldn't. And quite frankly, they don't in Gainesville either. Gator fans wish they were better. They longed for Billy Donovan in those days again. Okay, but the football team really concerns them. I have to admit, I think the baseball program faltering would bother a Gator fan more than the basketball program faltering. Honestly.
I disagree, but only slightly.
Okay.
But only slightly, David. I'm because I just see enough text in Twitch chat and different things that when the Gators are bad in basketball, there's seems to be people that come out of the woodwork to complain. I don't see that about the baseball, but I don't think you're that far. I think your point's a valid one, if you know what I mean.
And meanwhile, I think there are places, multiple, in the Big 12 in which the basketball is pretty important to them. Like, it's pretty important to them in Waco. The men's and women's basketball teams are a big deal in Waco, Texas. I think it's very important in Lubbock, Texas. We know how important it is in Lawrence, Kansas. But you know what? It's pretty damn important in Manhattan, Kansas, too. And that's just it. It's a strong basketball league. The fan base is, they're one of the conferences in which their fan bases go, hey man, there's more to life than just football. And those in the SEC go, yeah, that's because you're not very good at it.
Yeah, of course there is. It's called spring football, you jackasses. We know recruiting and spring football. There are 3 sports here.
Yeah. But, besides, the Big East is a basketball conference only, so it can't enter the discussion. But I would argue, Mark, that in terms of the percentage of the conference, I think there's as much basketball is really important to us in the Big 12 as it is in the ACC.
And the Big 10. Because the Big 10 cares about their hoop, too.
And so that's why I think the whole, Gonzaga, if in fact they're going to the Big 12, I'll say it again. What the hell's the commissioner of the Pac-12 doing? You're losing USC and UCLA. UCLA! Basketball! Hello? Are you paying attention?
David, I don't know the dynamic up there, and I'm not going to pretend to. Is there any chance that the Pac-12 didn't want Gonzaga because of Washington and Washington State?
No, I think it's because they don't play football. And so therefore they're like, well, this is nice, but in a way it's kind of a problem because we're going to have to get schools to replace USC and UCLA in football. And if we let you come in for basketball, then that's an odd number. And I can see that because, like, in theory, if they want to replace USC and UCLA with, just pick 2 teams. You want to go San Diego State and UNLV, whatever. And then if you add Gonzaga, well, now you got to find another school that doesn't play football or won't play football in your conference. So you got to get a conference to agree with that. So, and that's, do you then call Santa Clara if you're the Pac-12 and say, hey, why don't you join your buddies here? We'll add 4 teams to the conference in basketball. We'll just keep it at 12 for football, but you know what? We'll be a 14-team basketball league, and you 2 can join us for hoop. What do you say? But if I'm the Pac-12 and I got a chance to get Mark Few's school, I'm going to do it. Mark, you call Southwest Florida home. I did for a quarter century. During the pandemic, the Fort Myers tip-off. What was the first game of that tournament 2 years ago? It was Gonzaga and Kansas. You know who aired that game? Fox on Thanksgiving Day. They put that game on Fox leading into the Cowboys game.
So when you'd had enough of the Lions getting beat, you could actually watch a competitive sporting event.
Right. There aren't a lot of schools that they would put on, Fox. But they've played for the national championship twice in the last 5 years. They're a consensus top 5 team in the country for a decade. And they're joining the Big 12? They're located in the Pacific time zone. What the heck? All right, I'm done.
That was David Moulton trying to save the Pac-12. Brought to you by In-N-Out Burger.
And Jack in the Box.
And White Castle.
Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. College hoop season begins Monday, if anybody cares, by the way. Monday.
That's all the people. Did you hear them all, Carrie?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Is this on? Hello.
So I get where you're at. I don't see it the same way you do. And I don't see ESPN and Fox opening up their wallets. Although one of the big parts of this TV deal is Fox has taken a lot more college basketball on a Big 12 college basketball with their new TV deal.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, Fox and ESPN just sat down with the Big 12 years early and renegotiated their TV deal. This came up at the meetings. I mean, that was kind of leaked out last week. So, once again, to me, Mark, it goes into my big picture theory. I think Fox and ESPN are combining to kill the Pac-12 so that neither of them have to spend any money on the Pac-12 going forward. I really do. I mean, the Pac-12's contract is up before the Big 12. And both of these networks have deals with the Pac-12. And they both just sat down and did a deal with the Big 12. I mean, Fox was the one that Fox negotiated the Big Ten TV contract for football. Fox did. They were the ones that decided who the other two players were going to be. And they said that no way in hell is it going to be ESPN.
And then ESPN and Fox sit down to do the Big 12 deal.
Right. So I don't see how they're not combining here to stick it to the Pac-12. I really don't. And basically, Amazon's going to have to save the Pac-12 or one of those streaming services. That's where they're going to have to get their money, and that's where they're going to end up showing everything. And I could be wrong, but that's my theory. Listen, Mark, this is how much.
By the way, how long in your theory? I'm just curious that how long before Washington and Oregon are in the Big Ten? Because for your theory to come true, that's got to be part of it.
Well, yeah, I think as soon as Washington and Oregon realize that that's what's going on here, then they're like, okay, we got to go. Because for whatever reason, they're still holding themselves back. But I think eventually they're going to. I think what's going to happen is the Arizona schools are going to go to the Big 12, and Washington and Oregon are going to go to the Big 10. Listen, I believe it makes no sense that the SEC negotiated their new TV contract 3 years early with the four-letter network. If at some point behind closed doors, Oklahoma and Texas didn't come up. I mean, Greg Sankey, I think, is the best commissioner in all of sports, pro and college. But it makes no sense to negotiate your deal 3 years early, where he could have waited for the Big Ten to do their deal, and then he could have said, okay, now it's time to do ours, and wait to see all the services that would have done the bidding. They would have made billions more, literally, if he had waited. Why didn't he wait? My theory, because the four-letter network got behind closed doors and said, listen, I'm just telling you, you do the deal with us, we'll bring Texas and Oklahoma. Just leave it to us. That's my theory.
Well, it's first off, everybody knows that ESPN and Fox are running college football as it is. So
right,
not running all of college sports, why wouldn't you believe that? It's because college football is college sports right now. Miller and Moulton, Matt Cannata, Pro Football Network, 25 minutes away. Roy Cummings, top of the 8 o'clock hour right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just worked with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka, The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Got breaking news.
Yeah, you said that.
And yeah, Klecko, you got to something that I wanted to get to at some point on the show. Did you see Bubba Watson yesterday?
I did not.
Bubba Watson said, I got appearance fee money while playing on the PGA Tour all the time. And if I got it, what do you think others were getting?
I heard somebody tell me yesterday that Shoffley's going to live.
Well, he had been rumored for a while.
Shoffley and Cantlay were the names that he said are going.
Well, Dustin Johnson did just earn $35 million in 8 tournaments. Okay. I mean,
We have. Are you going cornhole?
no, I'm going Dolphins, actually.
Okay.
Johnny, I did. I moved to Jacksonville. Family reasons. And you all would have done the same thing. Just leave it at that. Right, 35 million for 5 months' work. 8 tournaments spread over 5 months. That's not bad. That'll play. Ricky got talked out of it. Ricky was jumping, was the word. And basically his boys there, JT and Spieth, and even Tiger and Rory, put their arm around him and said, come on, dude, you don't want to do this. It's a lot more than the granddaughter, Johnny. I'll just leave it at that. I wouldn't have moved for just the granddaughter.
Oh, snap. There it is.
Yes, exactly. DJ made so much money in the last 5 months. He's saying to his old sponsor, guys, I don't need you. I can walk around with a blank hat, visor, shirt.
30 seconds.
Paulina swore to me that she'll wear as many clothes as I have sponsors. Okay, so that's how we're rolling with this LIV thing.
10 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes after the hour. Matt Cannata scheduled to join us in about 20 minutes' time. Roy Cummings at the top of the hour. And a little over an hour from now, Dr. Roto to answer your fantasy questions. Big fantasy week last week. Felt like old times, say, right? A little bit.
A little bit of offense last week, David. A little bit of scoring, a little bit of numbers finally.
Just, I probably threw a bunch of you for a loop. Mark, how much swearing was done last week for all the guys that everybody had bailed on? And then, of course, last week they went back to being the guys.
I'm guessing there were a lot of players that have been benched that played really well.
Uh-huh. Yep. So,
a lot of upset fantasy general managers, I'm sure, David.
Christian McCaffrey.
But see, he always starts. Kamara always starts. So you get rid of those guys, that's on you.
Okay. All right.
That's a GM that's trading guys too early because they're really eager to make trades.
What are you insinuating? Anything?
No.
You have anyone in mind with that? Hey, as we were going to break just a few minutes ago, Adam Schefter sent out a tweet. And when Schefter's tweeting in the 7 a.m. hour, Mark, that means he's got news. Dolphins seem serious. I don't know about you, but, the trading away multiple first-round picks for Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, signing Hill, making him the highest-paid receiver. Mark, I'm starting to get the idea that the Dolphins are serious about winning. And you got to be honest, you and I, 25 years in the state of Florida, that's a tough concept to take seriously.
You're damn right it is. But something you and I have talked about forever, when you're trading for a guy that looks like a rental, you're not just trading for that rental. You're talking to the agent. You're doing all the due diligence before you make the trade because you don't make the trade unless you can sign the player.
Right. And did you really think that the Dolphins spoke with Bradley Chubb's agent for the first time after they acquired him? I mean, come on. Do you really think illegal stuff is not going on behind the scenes all the time? So Bradley Chubb's going to be a Dolphin for a while. And the 26-year-old Mark got paid. I mean, if you consider 5 years, $119 million extension paid.
Ooh-wee.
I mean, that's just under 24 per. 63 of it's guaranteed. Apparently, this all came together just, in the last few hours.
You have to really, give it up to not just the Dolphins front office, but to Chubb and his agent for their team and the Dolphins to be able to work this out so quickly. I mean, that's what's that? That's sitting down, that's closing the doors, it's shutting the cell phones off, and it's getting it done, David. That's what that is. That's just pounding it out.
Yep, picking up the phone for the first time about 8 o'clock Tuesday night and being able to put this deal together with Rock Nation in the last 36 hours. I mean, that's, plucking these numbers out of nowhere, being able to put it all together. I mean, that's That's
it's
great work.
amazing. The two sides were already so close as to what each side wanted before they made the deal.
Mark, sometimes it's just a fit. Sometimes relationships, you just can't explain them. They work. And I'm sure that's just the case here. Right? There's no tampering going on.
So you've got a back end cover corner. You got a front end pass rusher. You got two elite receivers. You got an elite tight end. You got a quarterback.
For now. I mean, for about 10 more games. Let's be honest. I mean, do you think they're going to A, keep him, and B, afford to keep him? He's making 10.9.
I know. I don't think so, but it's not impossible with what you and I both expect the cap figure to be next year.
It's 208 now, and the expectation is going to be 239 or 240. So that's 31 to 32 extra $1 million that teams are going to have. Never mind if they make cuts, obviously, you just add to it. Like the Bears right now are expected to have $100+ million in cap room when they hit the offseason. I mean, I know the Bears front office, it's kind of like the Lions front office. They don't necessarily get the benefit of the doubt. But, I don't know, $100 million. I'd like to think.
I'll believe it when I see it. I have no faith in them.
Well, they do throw money around like manhole covers. But, I mean, in theory, Mark, in theory, they got $100 million they can spend. So, if I'm a Bears fan, I will say, going out and getting an asset for Justin Fields, I turn around, I go, hey, they're paying attention. No more guys in the secondary. All right, good. I like this. Get about 3 more receivers. That'd be fantastic.
So I don't know if the Dolphins are going to be able to keep Gesicki or if they want to keep Gesicki is really the most telling question on it. But you look at, you start looking at those 6 guys, if you will, and if they could keep that line healthy, I think there are a couple good linemen. They just don't seem to be able to stay healthy.
Yeah, they may have just picked the wrong guys, Mark. They've spent a lot of money and draft picks on that offensive line, and they may have just picked the wrong guys. I mean, the Falcons did. Remember, the Falcons went to the Super Bowl and then spent the next 3 years drafting a cement wall for Matt Ryan. The wall just fell apart constantly. And therefore, so did Matt Ryan. So anyway, clutch move, I think, by Greer and the Dolphins.
Absolutely. And that leads us to our Clutch Vodka play of the day. That's Clutch with a K. What do you have, Felipe?
MLB history last night. I don't know what else to say. Completely different than Game 3. Game 4 ended like this.
Astros 1 out away from evening this World Series at 2 games apiece, and also 1 out away from a no-hitter. Ground ball left side coming in Bregman. He scoops the short hop, throws on the move to first in time, and that is a ball game. A World Series no-hitter for the Houston Astros as they blank the Philadelphia Phillies 5-0. This World Series is all square at 2 games apiece.
And that is our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Clutch Vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Check them out. Total Wine. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. No bite at all. I'm a big fan of Clutch Vodka, whether it's the Bloody Mary, the Clutch and Fresca. Don't think Fresca is just a soda, David. It's a hell of a mixer.
Love me some Fresca. My mom's parents, all right, they were the ones that put Fresca in their drinks.
Go to clutchspirits.com and buy your Clutch Vodka at Total Wine.
Just the 3rd no-hitter in Major League Baseball postseason history, 2nd in the World Series. 4 pitchers combined. Starter went 6, and then 3 relievers each went an inning. And the Astros with a footnote. That's what we look at it as, kind of a footnote. It'll be a bigger deal if they end up winning the World Series. It'll be strictly a footnote if the Phillies win the World Series. All important Game 5 tonight, last game in Philadelphia. Verlander looking for his first career World Series win. Noah Syndergaard's already got one. Got it with the Mets 7 years ago. This is what makes a GM look good here, Mark. They got Noah Syndergaard for, a few innings in the regular season and one start per series in the postseason. And this is his start in the World Series. This is it. If you're Dave Dombrowski, you're like, come on, buddy, 5 innings.
Yeah,
give it to
all
me.
the pressure's on Verlander. He's the one that struggled in the postseason. He's the one that has not won a World Series game, 0-6 record with like 10 starts.
So 8 o'clock tonight, going up head-to-head against Eagles and Texans. It's a Philly-Houston sports night.
Texans and Eagles. What's the number in that game again?
13.5.
Miller and Moulton. We'll switch gears and talk the NFL with Matt Cannata from Pro Football Network. He's next right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
If Matt doesn't work on the link, do you want me to try to call him?
No.
Okay.
Did you see the shootouts field?
Yeah.
I mean, they've got some good players. They got some guys you go, who's that?
What do they got? 11 of the top 50? Something like that?
Yeah. Hey,
Well,
look at that. Morning, Matt.
There you are. Can you hear me?
Yep, hear you fine. Good morning.
Hold on, I cannot hear you very well. One sec. There we go. Okay, we're good.
All right.
Well, you're already having to go to work.
Seriously, right? Wake up and Bradley Chubb is $120 million richer.
and none of us are because no one hit the Powerball.
I have been meaning to buy tickets every single drawing so far, and I've not been able to get out. But I'm gonna do it this Saturday. I'm gonna get it, and I'm gonna have the winning number, and then you won't see me ever again on the show.
There you go.
So much for Pro Football Network and College Football Network. That was.
It's been fun, but I'll see you out on my yacht in the Indian Ocean or somewhere.
Trying to find Snyder.
Yeah, seriously.
All right, guys, we're getting ready to go right now.
Okay.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Dr. Roto, 1 hour from now, to answer all your fantasy questions. Roy Cummings to talk to Tampa Bay Bucks at the top of the hour. Matt Cannata has been kind enough to commit himself and some members of his staff from ProFootballNetwork.com to this show at this time every week. Matt is the one who's already up and working because of the Dolphins deal with Bradley Chubb within the last half hour. You can follow Matt on Twitter. Yes, you can, at Cannata PFN. That's 2 N's, 1 T, Cannata PFN. Matt, David, and Mark, thanks for your time. How are you?
Great, guys. How are you doing this morning?
Well, we're working, and so are you. A little earlier than you were planning. Mark threw this out there when the deal was going down, in which he said that you don't make a deal like this unless, you're paying the guy. How much of this deal do you really think was wink, wink, nod, nod, verbally agreed to by 4:00 Tuesday?
You mean in terms of compensation, like the contract extension?
Yeah, just,
Right.
Yeah.
Dolphins GM Chris Greer had said in his press conference that I think it was yesterday that they had been talking to the Broncos for several weeks on and off, kind of, soft talks, quiet talks, and then obviously heated up as we got closer to the trade deadline. But the Dolphins don't make this move without some kind of wink, wink, nod, nod agreement with the agent beforehand, right? And I'm sure the Broncos gave permission for the Dolphins to talk to the agent to ensure that happens. Remember, that's a first-round pick, right? And it's the San Francisco 49ers first-round pick. So we don't know exactly where that's going to be. The 49ers have been up and down this season, and we'll see where that continues. But the Dolphins, it was a little surprising for that first-round pick to be involved, but the Dolphins must have saw something or had a plan going to this year's draft, and he said, you know what, getting a guy like Bradley Chubb, even with a new $120 million contract with $62-ish million guaranteed, is a way better value than trying to draft someone in that first round. But the Dolphins, I think, are signaling that they are all in on this team and on this Super Bowl window.
And Matt, they're all in on this quarterback now. I mean, that's the other thing that this move tells all of us, that Tua is their guy going forward, and he's going to get paid, right?
Tua, yeah, he's the guy going forward. They admitted as such They said they believe in Tua. They said this can be looked as a referendum on what they believe in Tua. Obviously, the second contract for Tua will be the telling point for how much the Dolphins really do believe in him. But he's done nothing this year to say that they shouldn't believe in him, right? He's undefeated in games where he starts and finishes the game for the Dolphins this season. He has been a completely different quarterback based on what anyone's seen from now versus his previous 2 years in the NFL. And the whole reason why they acquired future first-round picks was to protect themselves in case Tua was a buster, in case Tua wasn't their franchise QB. Obviously, the hand got forced a little bit when they got penalized with Stephen Ross getting, docked for, I can't think of the word, talking to others, tampering. There we go. And, that forced their hand a little bit. But they still had a first-round pick, and they could have packaged other things along with that to get a QB of their choice if they wanted to. But now they have no first-round picks. There's no reason to pick a QB in the first round. They can't pick a QB in the first round. Tua appears to be their guy.
Matt, are the Dolphins right in that they really are a Super Bowl contender, or are they kind of kidding themselves? Like, we asked the question, if the Chiefs and the Bills are the two bona fide Super Bowl contenders, and the Dolphins were living 2 hours outside of where the Bills and the Chiefs live, with the moves that they have now made, how close to downtown do you think the Dolphins are now? And we said yesterday, we think they're now about 40 minutes away in a nearby suburb, as opposed to in a completely different area code. We don't think that they're Super Bowl contenders. We think they're get to the divisional round and can give you a good game.
Yeah.
But so that, Matt, when you go all in a way, you shorten your window.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so now they're saying basically within this year and the next 2, we're going to get to a Super Bowl. And if you're wrong, it usually takes years to pick up the pieces. Are the Dolphins right?
I think they're right to go all in now. Tua's on his rookie contract, and that's when you have to take advantage, right? That's when you have to strike when the iron's hot. That was you said divisional round, and while you were talking, I was thinking to myself, well, they're probably a divisional round team. That's how I'm probably going to answer this question, and I agree with that, right? Yeah, they beat the Buffalo Bills, but I think if you play that game 9 out of 10 times, the Bills are winning that 9 out of 10 times, right? The Ravens game earlier this season, where the Dolphins miraculously came back, you play that game 10 times, I think the Ravens are winning it 7, 8 out of 10 times, but. And then the Chiefs. The Dolphins haven't gone up against the Chiefs this season, but the Chiefs have a dynamic offense. And do I think the Dolphins defense could shut them down? Maybe they can, right? If Byron Jones gets back and he comes back healthy, whenever that might be, and then you have him and Xavier Howard across from each other, and you have Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips rushing the passer, then I think the Dolphins could shut down a high-powered offense. But to go through Buffalo, to go through Kansas City, to go through Baltimore, those are tough tasks. Even Cincinnati, right? Those are really tough tasks. And the Dolphins could surprise people and win that game. But I don't think they're going to be going into those games as the Dolphins are the clear favorite, or the Dolphins are expected to win, or, people have confidence in the Dolphins. I think it'd be a shock to everybody, which is not to say that it hasn't happened before. Look at the Giants when they were in the wild card year when they beat the Patriots. To end their undefeated season. Look at the Bengals from last year. So it can happen, but in terms of all-in powerhouse Bills Chiefs, the Dolphins are not in that area code yet.
Did Minnesota, with their move, separate themselves, not from the Eagles, obviously, but separate themselves from that pack that seemed to be in the NFC, and we're trying to really find who is the number 2. Is it the Cowboys? Is it San Francisco? I thought the Vikings made a really strong move in Hockenson. I would have never made that trade if I was Detroit, but kudos for Minnesota to get a great tight end to go along with a great receiver and another solid receiver and a great runner. I mean, they have weapons now. I don't know if their defense is good enough, but boy, oh boy, did they have weapons.
Yeah, the Vikings are just a curious case altogether this season, right? They're 6-1. They don't have a hard schedule really the rest of the way. Their weak spot tight end position, right? Hockenson is a very good ball player. But you're right. On the defensive side of the ball, it's not like they're overwhelming offenses, right? You have Justin Jefferson, you have Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen is starting to become a shell of his former self. And, I think, though, when you look at Hawkinson, too, you're not just looking at the pass catching ability, you're looking at his blocking ability, right? And he's a very dominant blocker, at least he was in college, and he kind of went away from that in the NFL after being drafted by the Lions. And Hawkinson can do both. And, right now they're winning one-score games for the most part. So this will be interesting because they gave up a lot, right? Well, they didn't give up a ton, but they gave up a third-round pick and a year and a half of control of Hawkinson to a division rival. So while this is not necessarily them going all in, it's them definitely making a run. It just can't put my finger on Minnesota, though. I don't feel like they are a strong contender when we start going down the stretch here in a couple of weeks.
And when Matt says that the Vikings gave up a third rounder, if you figure out all the draft picks, that's the value of the trade. The Vikings actually gave up a second and a third, but they got 2 fourths back. If you go to the chart and you do the points, it adds up to the Vikings gave up the 69th pick of the draft, which is obviously a very high third-round pick. He's Matt Cannata, ProFootballNetwork.com, ProFootballNetwork.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Cannata, 2 N's, 1 T, Cannata, PFN. Can we just go to the other side of that deal? The GM of the Lions doubled down yesterday when the media said, dude, you traded a really good player of yours in the division. He said, not only did I do that deal with us at 1-6, I would have done that deal if we were 6-1. I got to be honest with you. If I'm in that locker room and my boss is saying this, I'm calling my agent going, you may need to find me a new home.
It's going to be interesting watching how things play out in Detroit. On Football Insiders last night, our PFN podcast show with Trey Wingo, we talked about Dan Campbell. We talked about how it's going to be very interesting to see if he lasts past this season, right? The sound bites can only last so long. The camera and the antics for there, and as great as they are, you got to win football games. And right now, Detroit does not have a QB. They have Jared Goff. He's fine for a game manager, but as we can see, he's never going to lead you to victories consistently, right? And so what the Lions are doing here are stockpiling picks for a QB. At least that's what we think, right? Because if they don't have a QB, Brad Holmes, the GM, is going to be gone. Dan Campbell, if he lasts another season and doesn't have a QB or his choice of QB or their choice of QB doesn't do well heading into the 2023 season, they're going to be gone. And so, the Lions know they need a QB. Brad Holmes knows he needs a QB. Dan Campbell, if he makes it to pass the season, needs some kind of QB to hang his hat on to say, hey, this is the guy. We're going to develop him. Look at us now. The Lions are I feel bad for Lions fans. They have a really fun head coach that comes in and excitement's high and everyone's talking about the Lions and how great that coach is, but they're just a hot mess. Again, always. I don't know what it is with them.
Always. Born and raised in Michigan, I'm not a Lions fan, and there's a reason for that, Matt, because this has been going on my entire life. And I feel badly for Lions fan too, because they pack that place and they love that team, but they're not getting anything out of it. No. Jacksonville's another team that's going nowhere again. But to us, the trade for Ridley, boy, is that not something that Buffalo did a couple of years ago when Josh Allen was getting ready for year 3? I mean, everybody's coming down on Lawrence. 2 years, 2 different systems. Now with Kirk, now they get him Ridley if he plays there next year and gets reinstated, obviously. But they're starting to build something for the future.
Yeah, that was an interesting trade, right? That was one I don't think anybody expected. And just the irony of it, right? Calvin Ridley is suspended indefinitely right now after placing bets on the NFL.
Well, Matt, isn't the word that he bet on the Atlanta-Jacksonville game?
I was going to say that. Yeah, he bet. The irony there is he bet on the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Falcons game, and now he's a member of the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? So that there's some irony there. But this is a great move for the Jaguars. It's almost no risk because the conditional picks are so complex that, if the Falcons get a 2023 fifth-round pick, if he's reinstated by a set date. If not, it's a 6th-round pick. I mean, 5th-round pick for a former 1st-round pick that, while he had a down year in the year before he got suspended, he showed some signs of dominance, his first season. And if the Jaguars can get this guy back and he's able to, get back on track pretty quickly, it's going to be a great target for Trevor Lawrence. And also the Falcons get a conditional 2024 fourth. If he hits playing time milestone, it turns into a 3rd-round pick. If he signs a long-term extension with Jacksonville, Atlanta receives a 2nd-round pick. But those are still great conditions for a guy like Ridley. And Lawrence, the jury's still out, right? He had Urban Meyer his first year, Doug Peterson his second year. It's been up and down this year, but look who he's throwing to. He has Christian Kirk, and that's about it. Yeah, you have other guys in there too. I think Zay Jones, but no one dominant, right? And Christian Kirk was never going to be a wide receiver 1. You have Travis Etienne. They traded away James Robinson. Trevor Lawrence still needs some weapons. As I'm talking, it kind of reminds me about Tua, right? All this talk about him, this and that, but he never had any weapons around him. The Dolphins went out and got Tyreek Hill. They drafted Jalen Waddle. I see them kind of building the same way around Trevor Lawrence that Miami did with Tua.
Matt, we got about a minute. Are the Colts tanking? Because there are a lot of people going, hold on a second. You picked your 3rd best quarterback to finish your season with? I mean, if you want to go away from Matt Ryan, why don't you go with the guy who's won a Super Bowl and Nick Foles? I mean, it was an interesting, we're going with Sam Ehlinger. He's never thrown a pass. I mean, are we to take that seriously, or are we to take that, quite frankly, they're trying to pull one over on their fans and they actually want to play Ehlinger and lose games so they can be in position to draft a quarterback?
Well, if that's the case, then Chris Ballard must have gotten reassurance from Jim Irsay that he is going to be around. And I don't think that's the case. I think him and Reich will both be gone after this season. I think it's more of they are so desperate to show Jim Irsay that they have a QB they can build around that this is the move they made. Now, do I think that they wanted to bench Matt Ryan? No, I think that call was made from above with Irsay. I think Frank Reich is a guy who's going to respect the veterans in a way where he's not going to pull somebody out of thin air and automatically say he's out for the rest of the year. He's not playing again unless injuries happen. And I think Chris Ballard is the same way. But I think when push came to shove, Jim Irsay said, hey, guys, what's going on here, right? This is now 3 QBs, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, and now Matt Ryan, 3 veterans toward the end of their careers, and you guys haven't shown us anything. And I think, part of that is Irsay, but also it's desperation on their part to say, hey, we can build around this guy. But I think at the end of the day, both will be gone and you'll see a new regime in Indianapolis after this season.
He's Matt Cannata, founder of Pro Football Network. Follow him on Twitter at CannataPFN. Matt, as always, thanks for your time and your insight. Roy Cummings is next to talk Tampa Bay Buccaneers right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The The Seaside will be serving Clutch vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Wow.
What's that?
That three-pointer by that Matt Ryan character to put it in overtime. That was a pretty good shot.
Yeah. I was pulling one out of your
Mm-hmm.
hit that one.
Just catching the pass was pretty good.
I know. Staying in bounds.
And just get ready for the media storm. The Lakers have won 2 straight.
Oh, I know.
Oh, Lord.
Do you think it's possible? Green Bay's 3-5, Tampa Bay's 3-5. The Lakers got off to an 0-5 start after missing the playoffs last year. Do you think maybe we're just going to have, whether marquee players and or marquee franchises go through a little downturn here? Like what usually happens in sports, but hasn't been happening for a while.
I'll tell you this, it'd be great for both sports.
Wouldn't be great for the NBA. It's not great. It's not great for the NBA if the Lakers are not in the playoffs. Not at all. Mm-mm.
No, as much as they try to think that they're not about any team.
I think the Lakers are the most popular team in the league.
I don't think
day in, day out. Doesn't matter if they're good, bad, or indifferent.
I mean, they just have, in terms of players and championships too, they have the best history of players and championship.
Recent.
No, pretty much. Well, they're right because this. Well, no, they were a freaking dynasty in the 80s. Is that recent now? It's not recent.
It's color television's recent to me. So
okay. All right.
I mean, the Celtics in all-time history have more championships, have all the great players too. I would just go with the Celtics if we're going the entire history of the NBA.
How about we go post-merger NBA? The Lakers.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. I think they're the only.
When was the merger? They
1980.
They didn't,
or 1979.
They didn't really merge. They took teams into the league.
Right, exactly. It was 1979, 1980, the first time. That was Larry Bird and Magic Johnson's rookie year.
Sure the merger wasn't a couple years
before that?
Earlier?
76, I thought.
Because the Nets had to sell off Irving to the Sixers in order to have the money to get in the league. So I thought the merger was 76.
Here's why I say 79-80 season. That was the first season that an NBA that a 3-point line was in the NBA. So
okay, well
I think that's a good start.
Well, but it's not a merger.
76.
I know what you're saying.
Here's just for the record.
Right, because the Nets had to sell Irving to get in the league.
Where the hell's Roy?
Well, Also, I think the Lakers are the only non-NBA Major League Baseball team that's the number one team in their market.
We're coming back. Got 5 seconds.
Hmm.
Should I call Roy? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, it is the final hour of Miller and Moulton, at least if you live in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, and between Port Charlotte and Venice. If you live in the 239, well, you're stuck with us for 2 more hours. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com, Dr. Roto in about 35 minutes to answer all your fantasy questions. Dr. Roto. So you could slowly start submitting them on our text line, FSN Radio, all one word, to 21,000. Or if you take us in via our Twitch channel, just send them in the Twitch chat room. How about that? Bada bing, bada boom.
There you go. Great fantasy week last week. We'll see what Roto has for us this week as far as some little sleepers and a little DFS action as well.
Roy Cummings is kind enough to join us. PewterPirates.com, PewterPirates.com. Also Bay News 9 in Tampa Bay. You can follow Roy on Twitter, rcummingsfhcn, rcummingsfhcn. How are you, Roy?
I'm doing well, guys. How's everything there?
Well, it's great, except the football team that you're covering all of a sudden is playing like the football team that you covered, 10 years ago. Okay, I'm very serious question. Do you think they're going to snap out of it, or is this going to be one of those years where, wow, we were all wrong?
Well, I look at the quarterback, and I look at the players on the team. I basically look at the roster and say, of course they're going to snap out of it. How could? But then I look at the things and I say to myself, can they snap out of it? I mean, can these guys, snap their fingers and somehow get these guys to start playing a little bit better? I'll tell you what, the issues run so deep, it seems, that if Tom Brady snaps out of it, and I don't think he's playing all that poorly, to be honest, or the offensive line snaps out of it, will the defensive line snap out of it? Will the line snap out of it? So I want to believe that, they're going to snap out of it because, my God, could you have a better opportunity to win a division? I mean, everybody around them is just, falling apart, but so are they. So somebody's got to win this division. I think at some point they'll put it all together and it'll happen. But, does it happen this week? I don't know. I thought it would have happened last week. I thought they were embarrassed enough going into their game against Baltimore that it would have happened then, but it didn't. So it's really hard to predict because nobody saw this coming. I mean, this kind of struggle on both sides of the ball at so many different positions. I mean, Levante David and Devin White, it's like they're out to lunch. Where have they gone? They've suddenly disappeared. It's just incredible.
Roy, you and I and David have talked some hockey during commercial breaks when we've had you on in the past, and you worked in hockey, I worked in hockey. Sometimes you shake the room up. I am stunned. I am absolutely stunned with as badly as they are playing that they didn't make any sort of a trade. How surprised were you?
A little surprised. Yeah, I agree that I thought that, especially considering the situation they have at guard, I thought they might have made a move there just to bring, if there was a veteran body available. Maybe there wasn't. They did pick up Tyler Johnson, which is not a great pickup for a wide receiver, but it's someone that they know, someone that they trust, someone they believe in, someone who could make them a little bit better, on the fringes. But I'm a little surprised. I thought that, maybe a defensive lineman would have helped. And there were a couple to be had out there. So, because again, that's an area, the whole front seven defensively just really not playing up to par. But this is a case where, maybe a trade to make a trade wouldn't have been the worst thing, because it would have shaken, as you say, shaken up the room a little bit. And boy, oh boy, does that room need to be shaken up.
Well, Roy, there's a few guys who in the last 6 months got a second opportunity to be head coaches again after not having success the first time around, but proving that they're terrific coordinators. Josh McDaniels, Dennis Allen, Todd Bowles, and they're all failing right now in their second go-around. And specifically with Bowles, and I like him. I wanted him to get the Dolphins job many years ago after he was 2-1 as the interim coach. But Roy, doesn't he have to bear some responsibility for what's going on, because they ain't playing for him?
No, they're not. And you have just reiterated what I have said so many times. I hate to sound like a broken record. I've said this thousands of times. I honestly believe that in this league, there are people who are superb coordinators, and they're just not head coaches. And I believe Josh McDaniels in that group. I think Todd Bowles is in that group. And I think the Bucs are suffering as a result. I'm not sure Byron Leftwich even belongs in that group. I'm not sure he's a good coordinator yet. But Todd Bowles, for me, what I think is missing is, well, we talked about, to use another hockey phrase, I think he's missing a little jam, if you know what I'm talking about. Okay. In hockey, jam is, that grit that you need to go in front of the net, stand there, take a beating, score ugly goals, go in the corners, dig the puck out. In football, it's having the jam to stand up to Tom Brady, as Bruce Arians did, and say, Tom, you're the leader of this football team. I need you here. I need you to focus, and I need you to play better. And then he needs to stand up to everybody else and do the same thing. And I don't think he's got it. I think he's a great coordinator. I think he knows exactly when to blitz in every situation. I think he can come up with dynamic schemes that fool quarterbacks, even veteran quarterbacks. But in terms of being able to capture the entire room and get everybody to buy in and ignore the shiny object over in the corner and focus on what we need to focus on here, I think that's missing. And I think it was proved out in New York, and I think it's being proved out here. It's really incredible that you take a team this good on paper, a team that even the Bucs said, and many in the media believed as well, was probably better than the team that they went to battle with 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl, and to see them struggle to the degree that they've struggled this year. I think Todd Bowles is proving that he is one really, really good coordinator, and he's absolutely special in terms of that. He's Monty Kiffin. He's got a defensive scheme that nobody can seem to really capture and figure out on the other side of the ball, but that's where it stops. He's not the guy who's going to lead the entire team. He's going to lead a group, a big group, but not the entire group.
And that will end up putting all the blame on him, but there has got to be some of the fact that Arians in his offensive mind is left in Leftwich. You mentioned it earlier. Is Leftwich a great coordinator? He was in line to get head coaching jobs. This year set him back because the offense has become predictable, Roy.
Yeah, very predictable. You're right. And I think there's ways to fix that. But, here's the problem. The way to fix that nowadays is you get a quarterback who can give you some options. Okay, a quarterback who you can, give the ball to and let him run a little bit, roll him out and move the line of scrimmage. There's a lot of options that most teams use to kind of get their offense rolling that the Bucs can't, because they've got a statue at quarterback. And look, he's the greatest statue of all time. Okay, that's Michelangelo's David out there. But at the end of the day, you've got to work the route concepts that allow him to really excel. And I know the numbers look good. People listening to this are probably arguing, yeah, but what about Tom Brady's numbers? He's leading the league in pass. Yeah, it's because he's throwing the ball 52 times a game. Why is he throwing it 52 times a game? He's throwing it 52 times a game because they can't run the ball. And why can't they run the ball? Well, probably because of the offensive line. So, look, injuries are a part of this, but I still think that at the end of the day, Byron Leftwich has to figure out a way to make this team less predictable. That Leonard Fournette's going to get the ball, and if it's not him, Rashad White's getting it. Nobody else touches it. You know where they're going with the passes, and if Tom Brady can somehow thread the needle, which he often does, and get it to Mike Evans, great. But they're not really using those other receivers very much, and they clearly miss the tight end. It's such a big part of what Tom Brady does. But you got to figure out a way as a coordinator to adjust to those losses. That's what being a great coordinator is, and it's why I say I'm not sure Byron Leftwich is even a great coordinator.
It's funny how quickly things happen in the National Football League. The Rams and the Bucks played in the middle of January last year, and both teams had won 12 or more games in the regular season. And, well, the Rams won, and they went on to win the Super Bowl. And if the Bucks had won, well, heck, they probably would have gone on to win the Super Bowl. And now here they are combined. They're 6-9 when they play on Sunday. I will say this, Roy. They lose to the Rams, they're done. Not just because they're 3-6, but the Rams have one offensive weapon. Their offensive line is struggling as much as Tampa Bay's. And every problem Tampa Bay has, the Rams can't take advantage of it. If they can't win at home Sunday, I really do believe this run is done.
Yeah, I can't argue with that point. My personal belief is that you've still got half a season left, and in this division, there's plenty of time to correct things. You could correct it in the last quarter of the season and somehow still get there, because I don't see the Falcons challenging them. I don't see the Saints challenging them. I really don't. Maybe the Saints if they get hot, but I don't know. I just don't see it. I still think the Bucs are going to figure this out because the talent is there. And to me, you can figure it out with the defense. The defense carried them the first quarter of the season, don't forget, and played exceptionally well. What's happened there, I don't know, other than the fact that obviously, well, they're finding out a couple of things. First of all, something seems not right with Levante David and Devin White. They don't seem focused. Vita Vea is proving to be about a 35-snap player. You're going to get 25 really good snaps out of him, but right now, whether it's injury or fatigue, I don't know what it is. Sometimes he's just not that dominant player that everybody thought he was going to be. He's not going to be able to play 55, 60 snaps. That's
got about 30 seconds, Roy.
And I think that, to be honest, I think they're missing Ndamukong Suh and just the nastiness that he brings. It's not really a nasty defensive front, and I think it needs to become nasty. If they can do that, they can probably win some football games.
Roy Cummings, Bay News 9, PewterPirates.com. Follow him on Twitter, rcummingsfhcn. rcummingsfhcn. Bucks host the Rams on Sunday. Roy, as always, appreciate your time and insight.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me as always.
Roy Cummings, Mark says there's time and there's hope.
Well, I think you're both saying similar things. Like, I understand what you're saying, that they're done. They can be done and still win the division, if you know what I mean. They can still go 8-9, win that division, but it doesn't mean they're going anywhere in the postseason. And I think that's what you're alluding to. They can still catch the Falcons if they lose to the Rams.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
In Chi-Town, I don't think you're wrong in saying it's a repeat, but I don't know, I don't know what else Roy can bring in. No, you're fine. Do what you're doing. I'm just talking to the chat.
Okay. Well, Hops, here's the problem. When I'm on location, the way it's set up, how I connect, Mark sends me a link, and however it works, I can't comment in the comments on location.
You can see them though, right?
I see them, and I can comment during the breaks right now. I try to answer the questions that are asked specifically of me during the commercial breaks. But yes, Mark can comment in the chat room. I can't. There's no spot for me to type into. And it's weird because there's also an area that's called private chat where Mark and I can communicate to each other. And in that, I can type to him. But when I flip over to the main chat room, that little space disappears on me. So, and I don't know if we can get that fixed. Because unfortunately, the most important thing is that, well, I get on the air.
Yeah, the only way to do it would be to open another window on your computer with Switch like you did in here.
Right. Hold on here. By the way, Roy wasn't saying that this team was as good or better than the Super Bowl team. He said some people thought at the beginning of the season, and he was kind of alluding to in the Bucs organization, that they thought they were as good or better as the team 2 years ago. All right. Okay, Dolphin. So you're trading Najee Harris, right? It's just a matter of, are you trading him for Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen? Thanks, Chi-Town. And then Tua or Herbert. By the way, Tua or Herbert, is that a fantasy question or?
The AC's kicked on. My hands are starting to lose feeling in my fingers.
Oh, good.
It's summer down here. Holy crap.
15 seconds.
Couldn't believe when I saw the heat index the other day was 100.
It's humid.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes after the hour, Dr. Roto in a little more than 15 minutes time to answer all your fantasy questions. Dr. Roto. So start thinking about your questions. Start submitting them. You can do so now, but during the commercial break. And whether it's on the text line, FSN Radio, all one word to 21,000, or if you're watching and following along on our Twitch channel, send them in to the Twitch chat room.
Just think about it, David. Fantasy leagues this year will have less trades than the NFL did.
I'm giddy. I'm still basking in the glow, baby.
As well you should.
But this isn't the, hey, I was right. But quite frankly, I mean, I'm glad that the general managers are coming around to the realization of that, A, hey, either this season's still salvageable, don't give up on it, or B, if you're like, well, listen, I mean, we need to start thinking about 2023 and 2024. Like, listen, I don't agree with the Lions deal, but the Lions are like, listen, we need draft assets because A, we've shown we're not a good team. B, we're probably not signing him long term because like they soured on him as a blocker. They're like, he's a one-dimensional tight end, even though that's not what he was in college at all. And also, clearly the Lions are now saying, well, we're going to have to go get a quarterback. And so that's going to take assets and a little bit of time. And Hawkinson really is better used to us if we use him for assets because he's probably not going to be here when we're ready to be good. And Lions fan is going, well, that would be nice at any point in time.
Average would be wonderful.
Right. So, but I'm glad that teams are at least, they're thinking instead of just going, I'm sorry, the Green Bay Packers, they need to be crushed by their fan base. Crushed. The Tampa Bay Bucks deserve to be hit hard by their fan base for not doing anything. And I'm sorry, Mark. The Bucks are in a position in which even if you go, I think they gave up a little bit too much in that deal. Yeah, so what?
I don't care. I thought, I will say, the Cowboys not getting Cooks because a lot of it was a part of next year's money and they didn't offer Amari Cooper that kind of money and Cooks was $18 million. I get it. But you're trying to catch Philadelphia. I was a little surprised that Jared didn't pull that off. He's not getting any younger. And so you sacrificed a couple of million and maybe you should have kept Cooper. I understand where you're at, but you need another receiver.
Yeah, I mean, no offense. You sit down with Zeke after the season's over and you go, Zeke, we need you to take less money to stay. Because his guaranteed money ends after this year. I mean, they should be sitting down with Zeke when this season's over anyway and going, dude, you're a platoon back. We can't pay you $14 million a year anymore. You're big in the room and you and Dak are tight and we want to keep you. But, I mean, dude, 14's got to become 8. We'll put incentives in there, and if Pollard gets hurt and you're the guy and you have 1,400 yards, you'll make your money, but you ain't the bell cow anymore, so we can't pay you like one. I mean, that's, so to me, they could have found that $2 million mark next year with some of the players currently on the roster. They just could have leaned on them a little bit.
I agree 100%. And I think Dallas is getting a pass because Green Bay and Tampa did nothing, and people don't look at the Cowboys, who should have made a move as well.
Because
and
also,
with going back, sorry, Dave, going back last year, we've talked about this. The Von Miller trade, it worked. So there was a few last year. The copycat league. David, if this keeps extrapolating forward, you're going to have the NHL in 2 years on trade deadline.
well, Pat has said he's in favor of pushing it back to the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And he thinks it would be the NHL trading deadline if you did it then, because then that's 3 more games from now. Teams would truly know if they're out of it, where teams are not willing to fully accept that they're out of it now. Okay, great. Because it's not like you have to wait till the trading deadline to make a deal. I mean, these 10 deals still could have gone down at the end of October, November 1st. And then teams could make decisions 3 weeks from now and either acquire guys or get rid of guys. But, curious what the Bears fan thinks about trading away arguably their 2 best defensive players.
But they even got a receiver, and they finally have some weapons for their quarterback. They're starting to give this guy a couple of people to throw to.
Right. I mean, they had one receiver on the roster, and now with Claypool, I mean, do I think they gave up 1 round too much for Claypool? Yeah, but apparently Green Bay wanted him, and the only way the Bears could get him was to outbid him. So they did. And they still have a ton of picks heading into next year and over $100 million in cap room. If I'm a Bears fan, I would just say, listen, if my GM does anything in the next 9 months, can he just go get an offensive line? Buy one, draft one, do both, actually. Please just invest around this quarterback. Next year's year 3. I got 2 more years in which he's really cheap. I got 4 more years till he makes obscene money. Okay, can you just invest around the quarterback, please?
And I think part of that is, and I don't know who the guys are because I don't study position coaches, but there are a handful of offensive line coaches that seem to do better than the others.
Yeah.
That seem to be able to not only find players, but to develop players. So when I'm building an offensive line, the place I might start is poaching a coach, David.
Yeah, like Bill Callahan for the Browns would be a good place to start.
It would be a great place to start. And if I have to name him offensive line coach, associate head coach to get through what I need to get through, then I'm going to do that. Because you've talked about the Falcons and all the money they've invested in draft picks and offensive line. It didn't work.
Nope.
The Cincinnati Bengals spent all kinds of money on an offensive line. I don't know if it's working.
Yeah. Against the good teams, it doesn't look like it is. And same with the Dolphins. I mean, that's why the Dolphins had to go out and add even more and get Teron Armstead, because the guys that they drafted in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round apparently can't block. So, and Yinzer points out, and Pat has made this point for 4 years, that the Steelers have missed Mike Munchak from the day he left. And I don't know how you can argue that. Take a look at their offensive line play since Mike Munchak left. I mean, it's gone steadily downhill. Either the GM's drafting the wrong guys, or the guy who's coaching them can't coach them like the last guy. But Bradley Chubb, by the way, is going to be a Dolphin for a long time. If you missed it, that's the news of the morning. About an hour ago, news started to leak out that, $120 million basically for a 5-year extension. That's 24 a year. 63 and change is guaranteed. That's about 2.5 years of the 5. So 26-year-old pass rushing defensive end. They got a 23-year-old pass rushing defensive end. They got 2 cover corners, although the one, Byron Jones, is yet to play this year. And I got to be honest, Mark, I got a bad feeling. He's not even close to practicing. I wonder if he's going to miss the year, the whole year. I really do. And then I wonder if he becomes a cap casualty. So they might have to, they can get Howard healthy and 100% at some point in time. But I don't, it's not sounding good, Mark, about Byron Jones. I mean, when the head coach is interrupting the question and saying, yeah, he's not available, that ain't good.
No, it is not. But regardless, now you're right. 2 pass rushers, a cover corner, 2 elite receivers, an elite tight end. There are weapons on this team on both sides of the football.
And let's be honest, whether you like him or not, the way he has played this year, 2 has played like a top 10 quarterback. Whether you like him or not, he has. Plain and simply. He has. Think about that. 2 elite receivers, the pass rushers, a cover corner, and a top 10 quarterback.
With an offensive line that's not played well.
And no running game.
Get your fantasy questions in. We have an appointment. Dr. Roto is up next. Text or go to the Twitch chat room or tweet them at us. We'll answer with Dr. Roto next. SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
No, Adam, I'm with you. The Jeff Wilson signing could be a sneaky good trade. Seems to fit the blocking scheme better. Hold on here. JB like PPR.
But I want to ask y'all, we're Urban because everybody, Jarvis, Harris, the twins, and all them boys, they tell me like they love Urban. I think Marquise loved it more than you because I think the people who didn't know him great changed kids again. And that's one thing I always took from the aspect, especially like being raised from how our dad raised us. You know what I mean? Like it was always an aspect of it, like you gotta earn what you're speaking of. You gotta earn your food.
Ooh.
You know what? If you played on that field, he treated you like a kid.
Yeah, Duffner missed it.
That's what you was like, man. You had to.
And he's in between too. He's still got what, 5 or 6 years till champions, Duffner?
Oh, at least.
People say Coach Tomlin a player coach in a foreign. Man, Coach Tomlin be on there, man. You sitting there on film on Monday. I'm telling you, bro, you better not be the player that messed up. Because it's almost like he ain't gonna do it, and some players like some head coaches taking it like a private thing. He gonna call you out in front of everybody. The one thing Coach Tomlin's not going to do is call you out.
He's 45.
Respect you in that form, but
Duffner.
He's 45?
He's 45. He'll be 46 in March, so he will miss the Chubb by a month that 1 year in terms of when he can join the tour. So he will be 50 in March of 27. Oh, yeah. VJ would have been the first golfer who left the tour for the LIV, Klecko. You're so right. He would have been so gone. Kuchar nearly went. The Kuchar was another one who was on the fence and was kind of talked into staying. Fowler, Kuchar. I still think Matsuyama is going to do it at some point. Word was he got talked out of it. Still waiting on that TV deal for the LIV Tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because Fox has said some public comments kind of like, no, not interested. So I don't know if they're looking for more money for the LIV Tour or what. I don't know if anybody cares or was paying attention, but Phil went in the booth for a half an hour with Faraday on Sunday at Doral. And those in the golf world who were paying attention were like, oh, wow, was it good? Somebody wrote a column and said that that'll be our biggest. Did we call Roto?
The doctor is on hold.
Okay. That'll be the biggest loss with this whole thing between the PGA Tour and the LIV. Not having Phil in the booth on the PGA Tour for 10 years.
Coming back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
It is 22 minutes before the hour. And at this day and this time, that means Dr. Roto. drroto.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Dr. Roto. Doc, how the hell are you?
I'm doing great, but this is a messy week number 9, guys. So many teams on bye. It's a fantasy nightmare for a lot of people, and people are hitting the waiver wires and panicking, so we got to get people through it.
And last week was kind of the first big offensive week. It was kind of nice to see some scoring for a change, Doc.
Well, it's so funny because when you looked at the slate, especially for DFS, you're like, no, these games kind of stink. They're going to be low scoring. And then all of a sudden, there was like an offensive explosion. So I think it caught people by surprise. But, look, maybe the teams are now in the swing of things, after not playing in the preseason. Takes them a few weeks to get in. So it was good to see.
Is that the end of the pool that you have to dive into if you're a fantasy player, that you have to believe, you know what? Okay. The first 6 weeks, I don't know. We were a mess, but now we've kind of gotten it together. Is that, do you now go back to your old way of thinking?
I think that's probably the new norm, right? So from now on, moving forward, we've got to say to ourselves, the first month of the season, we need to get through it. So if we can be 3-1, that's great. I mean, look at Darnell Mooney. I think he's a great example. People took him. I know I took him in round 5 and 6 in a lot of drafts. He was awful. I mean, absolutely awful. But now the last couple of weeks, he's been, respectable. Somebody at least I can play. So, I mean, it wasn't that he wasn't talented, but they weren't letting Fields throw. The playbook was, very restricted. So now I think he's more of the player that I was expecting him to be. Now, I don't want to have to wait 9 weeks for that, But I think that tells you certain offenses, certain young players, you've got to be more careful with in fantasy now. Those rookies, especially at quarterback, it may take them more time.
Just curious, how do you see a move like the Vikings getting Hawkinson? How is that going to affect him? He hadn't been getting a ton of targets. Now there's Jefferson. Is this going to, for this week, I can't imagine it would go up, but down the road, how do you look at a guy like Hawkinson now that he's a Viking?
I actually think it does go up, and I'll tell you why. For Detroit, he and Amon-Ra St. Brown travel the same route tree, right? They like to be in the middle of the field. And when you have that, it becomes a cluster. So if you look at some of the games box scores, Hawkinson had some games where he disappeared. Not because he's not good, but those are the games when St. Brown really exploded. So I think in some ways you can't have two guys in the same spot. And I think the Lions knew they were going to have to pay him a boatload of money. With the Vikings, I think it actually helps because Hawkinson can be in the middle of the field. Thielen doesn't usually travel the middle of the field. KJ Osborne's a non-entity anyway. And Jefferson can travel anywhere, right? That's the beauty of Jefferson. So I think Hawkinson's going to be actually much better on offense. And I think Kirk Cousins is obviously a better passer than Jared Goff.
Dr. Roto, drroto.com, drroto.com. Follow him on Twitter at Dr. Roto, drroto. And you can hear him weekends, SiriusXM's Fantasy Sports Radio. We will get to your questions for the doctor in a moment. You still have time to submit them. Text line, FSN Radio, all one word to 21,000, FSN Radio 21,000, or in the Twitch chat room. I just want to ask Doc one other question. Is there another fantasy trade that either you liked or now you're putting up the alarms and going, oh boy? I mean, is there another deal that from a fantasy standpoint is a big one either way?
I think there was a sneaky under the radar one. I think Nyheim Hines going to the Bills opens up a couple of things. So one, I like Hines on the Bills. It hurts James Cook, the rookie, but Singletary's contract is up at the end of this year, and they may move forward with Hines and Cook. That's definitely a possibility. But what it really does is open up play for Deion Jackson. Jonathan Taylor's not 100%, okay? And they already brought up Jordan Wilkins on a Wednesday. When guys get brought up on a Wednesday or Thursday, let me tell you, it's not good for Taylor on a Sunday. And all of a sudden, Deion Jackson could be the new starting running back for the Indianapolis Colts right now. So I think, because remember, Hines is blocking his way. So I think that's one that people may have overlooked. I think another one was Jeff Wilson going to the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins did an amazing job. Yes, they gave up a first-round pick, but when you come with Bradley Chubb and you sign him to an extension and you bring Jeff Wilson to replace Chase Edmonds, you got two really good players. And what'd you give up? A first-round pick for him? I think they did pretty well.
All right, let's get to the questions. This one's just a kind of a wide open question. How optimistic are you on DJ Moore's production the rest of the season in PPR leagues?
You know, that's a tougher question to answer because I think it's all predicated on P.J. Walker. P.J. Walker has looked good the last 2 weeks. You know, he has. So I think that's been exciting. In terms of this week, you know, they're playing the Bengals. The over-under is not expected to be huge. But look, I think at least P.J. Walker knows how to throw a pass versus Baker Mayfield. So will DJ Moore do what he's done the last 2 weeks? Probably not. But I think he's in a position to get 14 points a week.
Dolphin is trading Najee Harris in a PPR league. He wants to know, should he trade him for Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen?
Oh, great question. Please don't trade anybody for Keenan Allen. In fact, I'm going to beat Mark to his question, where I'm going to tell you, Mark always asks me, give me a cheap guy in DFS this week. My cheap guy in DFS this week is DeAndre Carter. Keenan Allen's hamstring, not doing well over the bye. It hasn't improved. Okay, when that hasn't improved, that tells me that this guy may be in big trouble this season. So I think you may be, Mike Williams, as we know, is out. You may be looking at a receiving core of Joshua Palmer and DeAndre Carter, and that's just kind of ugly. So you're trading for Cooper and Deshaun Watson going to come back in week 13. Cooper could be a guy who wins your league.
All right, question for this week. Gabe Davis or Alan Lazard? Who do you like?
Well, we don't know if Lazard is healthy, right? I think we're still dealing with a shoulder, so I think you got to watch that. If Lazard plays, I do like him against the Lions for sure. I like him to score, But do I know if he's going to be out there? I don't. Luckily, you have Davis, so you can wait on until the last second and play Davis.
Adam wants to know, do you think Taylor Heineke is a good play this weekend? The Commanders, who have won 3 in a row, are hosting the Vikings.
I think that game is sneaky in terms of there's always one game where I think the Vegas lines miss out. They have this one at, what is it, about 43.5. This one could be a 48 or 50 spot. I could see that. I don't love Heineke, but I like him more than Carson Wentz. And what I loved in that drive that he did last week to win the game, he just let his players play. Threw it up to McLaurin. He made some big throws. I mean, for my money, I like him way more than Carson Wentz.
You know, you mentioned all the problems that the Chargers now have at receiver, where both their top 2 guys are not healthy at the same time and no idea really when they're going to get either one back. Do you then have to go away from Justin Herbert?
Well, no, right? Because you still have Eckler. Joshua Palmer's a pretty darn good player. Carter has surprised when he's played. Gerald Everett's there. They could run a couple of tight ends. They've got Parham, who's not bad. But I think this is one, like in DFS, here's a great move for this week. If you think the Chargers are going to put up points in that game, which I do, I might just play Herbert and Eckler and no receiver with that, because I don't know where he's throwing it. He could throw one to Palmer, one to Carter, one to Everett. I have no idea. So if I have that, I basically get a lot of the points of the Chargers without knowing exactly who it's going to.
Remember, remaining moments with Dr. Roto, still time to get into your question. Text line, FSN Radio, it's all one word, FSN Radio, send it to 21,000, and Miller and Moulton Twitch channel. Plenty of room in the chat room. Submit your question. We will ask it of Dr. Roto for the next 6 minutes.
Sit one of these guys, ATN, Walker the third, or Aaron Jones. Who's sitting?
I am not sitting Aaron Jones against the Lions. So let's just take that off the table right there, guys. So ETN or Walker, man, I don't want to sit Walker. Oof, that's a tough one. I'll play Walker and I'll sit ETN. I don't know. I think the Raiders were embarrassed last week. I don't think they'll be embarrassed this week. But ETN was a one-man gang last week, so it's hard to do that. But, man, Kenneth Walker just feels special to me.
I never thought I'd ask this question of you, Doc, this year, but Rugg wants to know, so do I go Justin Fields or Derek Carr at quarterback?
I know. Isn't that crazy to think that
yes.
These questions? Look, Miami can be beaten with the pass. I think it's one of the reasons why they brought in Bradley Chubb, right, to get some more pressure on that quarterback. I really like what the Dolphins are doing. I do. I think they're putting themselves in a position for success. So let me start Carr. And look, let me give you not a secret, but something that the best players out there know. When Derek Carr has the biggest poo-poo game of the century last week, the first thing you're thinking this week is, let me never start this guy. And that's the first thing you need to do. You got to throw that out and say he's startable, because he can't remotely be as bad as he was last week.
Do you have a game this week? You've had a good beat on this, Doc, where you see a game that maybe the over-under is one way, and you think whether a game that you don't think is going to go as high or a game that you might want to put a little more weight on this week.
Right, and I said I think that game, it smells like it could be the Vikings and the Commanders. So that one is the low one that I think could shoot up a little bit. The Titans Chiefs, depending if Tannehill's back, that could shoot a little higher. And right now, the game of maybe the Raiders Jaguars, it's possible. That could be one of those games too. But I think it's the Vikings and Commanders, because you've got two decent offenses. You've got guys. Heineke's willing to take some shots. Kirk Cousins willing to take some shots. So I think that one finishes at a 48 versus a 43.
JB Vike wants to know, in a PPR league, do you take Garrett Wilson against the Patriots or Cooks tonight against the Eagles? But isn't Cooks questionable tonight?
Yeah, so Cooks is not happy, right? Cooks thought he was getting traded.
Yes.
So Cooks is saying, my wrist hurts. He's got the Kadarius Toney hamstring injury. He revives the second he flies to Kansas City. So I'm sure he'll be eating barbecue with both wrists somewhere.
Doc, that Kadarius Toney hamstring injury, that's like your 8-year-old who doesn't want to go to school type of 7 a.m. illness, isn't it? Those things, they're fleeting.
But it was genius. And can I tell you, it was actually genius of the Giants, too, because if you sit this guy because he's a malcontent, nobody's trading for him. But if you say, quote unquote, it's his hamstring, well, now it seems like I'll trade for him. So I have no problem with that there. Good move by both parties.
We were asked this in the Twitch chat room, and it's a DFS and really a season question because there are so many buys. Do you have any streaming tight end options for this week?
I kind of like this guy. Well, the guy I like is playing on Monday night. I like Isaiah Likely a lot. I think you're going to want to look in the Seahawk-Cardinal game. So whether it's Will Dissly or Noah Fant, the Cardinals are atrocious against opposing tight ends. So I think that's probably the sneaky streaming guy that I'll be on this week. My guess is it's Dissly, but I do like Fant more as a player, but it'll be one of those two guys depending on who's healthy.
Missouri in our Twitch chat room is asking Pittman Jr. or St. Brown.
I think the answer is always St. Brown. I just think that offense is a little bit better, especially with no Hawkinson there. I know that Jair Alexander's there, but I kind of like him. I just feel like the Patriots are going to stop Pittman, right? Because I don't think Jonathan Taylor's playing. So the one guy Bill Belichick is stopping is Pittman.
St. Brown, Boyd, Juju. Pick two, please.
Juju and St. Brown. Juju has been actually very good this year. And so, look, Tony, I don't think Tony's going to be an impact player this year. I really don't. But I think they've set themselves up for the future with Tony and with Sky Moore. They've got guys moving forward.
Your thoughts on Claypool now in Chicago? Do you like that more than where he was, or do you like him now less?
Well, no, do you know when Kenny Pickett was calling out people for not studying and not knowing the playbook, he was basically saying Chase Claypool, right? Because Chase Claypool is another bonehead, but he's very athletic. And the Steelers were tired of him. And you have George Pickens, who's, great, and you got Deontay Johnson and Freiermuth. So to get a second-round pick for Claypool was great. Now, for the Bears, it's outstanding because they didn't have a second receiver. And they have to be willing to take a chance on this guy, even though he's a Fruit Loop. So I think you got Mooney, you got Claypool, you're giving Justin Fields a better shot. So I think it's one of those win-wins for both teams.
Well, the other thing that concerns me is the Steelers have the best wide receivers coach in the league. And if they're willing to give up on you as a receiver, that to me is a bad sign. That just generically. Very quickly, in our Twitch chat room, the question just came in: Sanders or Kenneth Walker III?
Look, I love what I'm seeing out of Kenneth Walker, and I think they just go to him all the time. So he's just a guy that is very hard to sit right now. If you're outside of McCaffrey, outside of Henry, outside of Barkley, then I think Walker is almost a must-play.
Dr. Roto, drroto.com, drroto.com. Follow him on Twitter at Dr. Roto.
Can I say one thing, David?
10 seconds.
Sanders tonight against the Texans. The Texans are the worst run defense in the history of mankind. So just be careful. I don't want somebody to get angry at me that I gave him the wrong pick.
There you go.
There it is. Dr. Roto, as always. Thanks, Doc.
All right, bye, guys.
Miller and Moulton, back with more in a moment right here on the Florida Sports Network. Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah.
Hi.
Excuse me. Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Is it Monaco or Monaco?
Monaco. Andrew's on hold. Sounds like a nice guy.
Great. We like nice guys.
You just kept on saying, Felipe, thank you. was like, no, man, thank you.
For the record, David, he did the show last night at Ruby's Barbecue for the Jimbo Fisher radio show.
Ooh. Don't we have to ask him about the barbecue?
That's kind of where I was going to start.
You got 10 seconds.
So how about we do that?
Yeah.
I'll say, Andrew, we're going to ask you some very hard-hitting questions here.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, it's the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this first Thursday in November. Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. If you missed the last comment from Dr. Roto about 10 minutes ago, he said he loves Miles Sanders tonight as a fantasy play. The Texans run defense so awful. So that's his bonus play of the week for you in case you missed it. Andrew Monaco is our bonus play in the bonus hour. He's the play-by-play voice of the Texas A&M Aggies. The Gators headed to College Station on Saturday. You can follow Andrew on Twitter, Andrew Monaco _senior SR. Andrew Monaco _SR. Andrew, it's David and Mark. Thanks for your time this morning. How are you?
Wonderful to be with you. I'm doing just great.
Well, we want to get to the hard-hitting questions of the day. We know you had the coaches show last night, but more importantly, what was on the menu at Rudy's Barbecue? I'm seeing Texas barbecue. I lose all sight of anything football when there's barbecue involved. What was on the menu last night, Andrew?
You had some of the chop. You can go chop brisket. You can go brisket lean or moist. You can do some turkey. You can do some chicken. Sides if you're into sides. Potato salad, coleslaw, beans are fantastic. A little Brunswick stew type thing. Yeah, it's I joke with Jimbo. There's an awful lot of food in our shows. Not only that, but with our sponsors along the network, and it's always a good thing. It's always a good thing.
Andrew, I can't believe you asked two middle-aged radio sports guys if we're into sides. Okay, I can't believe you asked that question.
What was I thinking?
Exactly.
Yeah, what was I thinking?
All right. What in the wide world of sports is going on? This was not supposed to be the season that Texas A&M was supposed to have. Andrew, put your finger on something that maybe those of us 1,000 miles away are just not fully aware of.
Combination of two things. Not having the experience, have young players, and I've always heard it attributed to Johnny Majors. I really need to ask Jimbo who he heard it from. Best thing about freshmen is they become sophomores, and they've had to play a lot. The injuries, and I do not like using that because I'm in Jimbo's camp. Injuries equal opportunities for guys. But the Aggies are on their third quarterback. Started with Haynes King, then Max Johnson. Max gets hurt at Mississippi State. Haynes comes back. Haynes gets hurt at South Carolina. And you're going with a true freshman in Connor Wigman, who was very good last week against Ole Miss. This is an offensive line where they do not have their all-SEC center in Bryce Foster. Missed the beginning of the season, comes back. He had mono, comes back. Now he's got a leg injury. There's three offensive linemen who are out for the year. So they've never really had a chance to gel. Their best defensive tackle, McKinley Jackson, he'll play his third week. Their best linebacker, and Andre White, has been out. He's played the last 2 weeks. He played the first week against Sam Houston. And Antonio Johnson, their all-SEC nickel, has been out. The injuries, really, they've been dinged. And I wish it were the same injury. You could say that. That has been part of it. But that's not the only thing. You can't keep saying that this team is one play away every single week. Look, we know that SEC football comes down to that. Win or loss, they've been one play away now for Alabama, even though it was a Hail Mary at South Carolina. They're one play away against Ole Miss. That has to change at some point. You got to find that play. As Jimbo says, the crumbs and the inches. At some point, you have to find that. You have to change what's going on in the field, but to not have the same personnel, the luxury to be playing teams that have 4th, 5th, and 6th-year seniors, that has been a disadvantage for Texas A&M. And what you're hoping on the horizon is the freshmen are no longer freshmen; they're sophomores, and it will be the Aggies who will have those experienced teams. But as you guys both know, you can't rush that. You can't say, "Okay, snap your finger." Now you're experienced. You gain that game by game by game. You can get the confidence, you can get everything else, but you can't say, "Okay, you're 12 games in." But I think those are some of the things that have really a reason why Texas A&M is 3-5.
And the Gators are a team that struggled defensively this year. They're trying some of the same things with a first-year head coach, trying to maybe put some square pegs in round holes to get what they want defensively. This seems like it would be an opportunity for the A&M offense to get rolling against a defense that's not been very good this year, Andrew.
And that is Texas A&M's strength is their running back, Devon Achane, and he's the one. They can't get the ball in his hands enough, and he rushed really well. The Aggies have had some really good first half running, and then the adjustments in the second half, they don't run as well in the second half. Again, that offensive line. At times it's been someone getting dinged, and it could be a makeshift line. But Devon Achane is the guy that makes everything go. I forgot that, I apologize. I forgot that Anaya Smith is another one who was lost in the Arkansas game in week number 4 to a leg injury for the rest of the year. But you'll see Devon in that backfield. You'll see him lined up as a wide receiver. He's a kick returner, and I'll be stunned if Florida doesn't do what everybody else does and kick to Jalen Preston instead. He's just that guy that every time he touches the ball, he's a game breaker. I give a lot of credit to Moose Muhammad, who is Moose and Muhammad's son. It's Moose Muhammad III here, has really stepped up for Anaya Smith in that role. And Evan Stewart is a true freshman who has really come through as a wide receiver. They really seem to have since Evan and Connor Wigman came in, together, the same class. They really seem to have something special. But the Aggies haven't had, I would say, since maybe Christian Kirk, one of those game breakers who can, just a 50-50 ball, go get it, turn a slant into a big game. That's what they have with Evan Stewart. But I really think Devon Achane, if they can run. Jimbo, you guys know from his Florida State days, loves to be balanced on that offense, and Devon Achane can help him do that.
He's Andrew Monaco. He is the voice of the Texas A&M Aggies. You can follow him on Twitter, Andrew Monaco _senior, which for Twitter is just SR. Andrew Monaco _SR. What's the best answer in your estimation? Because I'm guessing it's been asked every week for a month now in some way, shape, or form, that Jimbo has given when he has been questioned about his flexibility, his system. Does he need to change a little bit? What is the answer? Because I'm guessing he's answered it 6 times by now. What's the best answer in your estimation that he's given?
It is the points that have been left on the field. Actually, one of those, I call it a bucket list moment. And it was back after Appalachian State. In his office before we do our one-on-one, and he drew up 5 scoring plays with the Aggies that they left out on the field. And that was, this block was missed, this wide receiver didn't make this block, this is something that the quarterback didn't see. And if you guys know Jimbo, it was almost like being in at a table, and he brings out the napkin. But he had the stationery, and and the thing is, it's not just, this play didn't work, and he shows you the 11 on offense. He showed the way the defense was lined up, where the safety was, why this was missed, how this happened. It's that execution, and it's really gone down to the players as well. Look, Jimbo's been honest. Maybe we haven't coached him as well either. Maybe we need to coach them better. But no matter who the player has also said, look, it's on us. We've got to execute these plays. You guys know that football is a total team sport. All 11 have to work in concert. Every once in a while, you can get away with 10 players winning their space and the 11th not. But football, it's like baseball. The ball's going to find you. If you got the bad fielder, they're going to find you. Football's going to find you. And that offensive lineman doesn't make the block. That's good the time that a D lineman or a linebacker or one of those those edge rushers comes in and trips up Haynes King and can't make the option to Devon Achane on a play that their wide receiver doesn't make the block. That has happened time and time again. And sometimes it's not the same player. If it's the same player, you can change that player out. And that has been the key. Those plays are there. And you ask the players, is the playbook complicated? Yeah, but it's not like Jimbo gives you the entire library and says, devour this for week number 1. There are some concepts. The one thing that I've really liked, he's harder. He might be harder on wide receivers than he is on quarterbacks. He's pretty hard on quarterbacks, as he should be. They're the ones that get all the credit and they get way too much blame. But we look as fans saying, well, I don't know why that quarterback didn't make that read. Well, the receiver's not open because maybe he ran the wrong route. I think that would be the biggest thing, is leaving those plays there. And at some point you have to recognize, okay, this is that moment for us. Make this play, get that confidence. I think they want to be back to Arkansas and even Miami, where they made the plays and it was Arkansas and Miami. That was one play away in that game. That it came down to the last play for them. The Aggies have to now try to figure out, how do we flip this and be consistent for the 60 minutes, not have just a fast start and a fast finish. What's going on in those minutes, but it really is all 11 working in concert and winning their space every single time.
We got about a minute and a half left. Is there any talk of them speeding up this offense, or is it just a matter of execution because they're not getting the plays that most normal teams do on Saturdays?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, and some of that, and that goes to all 11. The offensive line, you will see, get to the line more and get their hands down, and yes, get those plays. And that was the problem in the beginning. Their first 2 drives against Ole Miss, they went a little more up-tempo and have tried that. They won't be at Ole Miss's speed or Mississippi State speed, but I think you will see that. And that's the combination. Plays got to come in quicker, but you also have everybody to get to that line.
2 teams trying to find themselves meet Saturday in College Station. The 4-4 Gators and the 3-5 Aggies of Texas A&M. Andrew Monaco will be calling the game for the Texas A&M Radio Network. Andrew, thanks for making time for us. Hopefully we can do this again down the road.
I would love that. Thank you so much for having me.
Andrew Monaco, who you can follow on Twitter at @AndrewMonaco_SR. Andrew Monaco joining us here on Miller and Moulton.
Well, answered all the questions. I mean, it wasn't Jimbo, but basically he had the coaches show last night. And we all know how those coaches shows have gone for Jimbo the last couple of years.
If that had been the new voice of the Florida Gators, would the answers to the questions have sounded pretty much the same?
Very much so. Very much so.
I mean, the one team's struggling on offense, and the coach is being questioned about that, and the other team's really struggling on defense, and that coaching staff's being questioned about that. But about the whole roster and the youth and the injuries and the inconsistency, they got a lot of the same old, don't they? Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening, Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com, flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone, on 5th Avenue in Naples.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Thank you for the kind words, Mr. Boutte. And Mello, you know we're always very hard-hitting, especially when it concerns food.
My dog, Mr. Boutte.
So this Tennessee-Georgia game is like the highest priced college regular season game on record in terms of the secondary market right now.
What are we looking at?
Well, we're looking at about $6,000 if you want to get in, and we're looking at an average ticket price of like just under $700 straight up.
So you got 2 extra?
Here's another funny thing. So there's not a CBS employee that will be sleeping in a hotel bed within 25 miles of the game.
Really?
First time ever.
You didn't get your normal hotels?
Well, no. Didn't get it. I don't know this for sure. I think it's because CBS is doing things differently. We're owned by a corporate entity now, and I don't think that the corporation will pay the price.
Gotcha.
You know what the hotels in the college towns, so I think they just said, no, we're not going to pay that.
So where are you staying?
Well, I'm staying now I do this anytime there's a game within 3 hours of Atlanta.
Oh, that's what you're staying in Atlanta.
I stay at the hotel. I stay at the Gateway Marriott, and I just drive from there. Mark, this is how this also has never happened before. We're not driving to the game, the 3 spotters. Because usually I always tell the other 2 guys, I go, listen, I'll be at the Marriott. If you're flying in Saturday morning, I'll wait for you. I'll pick you up. We'll go together, or I'll just drive us. And they're like, great. There's not enough parking spots. And you've been there. It's tight, the road. And they're like, you only get 3 spots. And that like includes the satellite truck, apparently. So there's no room to park cars. So we're being driven.
Like car and driver.
Correct. The spotters are being driven to the game and dropped off.
Nice.
Oh, my God. I'm howling in laughter.
Section 610, row 20, $588.
Correct.
Oh, my God.
Here's what happened, Felipe, and I can tell you. This is the Vol Nation that's been waiting for a generation. And when they beat when they beat Alabama, it was game on. They all then immediately said, we are going to Athens. No, seriously. And they
usually do. It's not a long trip. You got to remember, this is an easy trip for them.
Yeah.
If you think of the SEC, it's as short. It might be as short of a trip that the Vols have.
Yeah, because it's
Vandy's
3 hours.
3.5 hours.
Right. It's a good 3 hours to Nashville. Now it's a really easy drive. It's, go to make a right, get in the straight highway. Or Athens, it's a, little side road deal.
Knoxville to Athens is 4 hours.
But the other thing is, Felipe, when you make this kind of commitment, like, ask a Florida State fan what the Tallahassee hotels have done to you in the last 5 years in terms of jacking up prices. I mean, it's obscene. It truly is obscene.
It's insane. God, college football.
I mean, you put it like in Alabama, they're doing it's, and Tallahassee, I've heard, has done the same thing. It's 3-night minimums. I forget what game it was a couple of weeks ago. I think it was the Mississippi State game. I mean, I had somebody tell me they had to pay $800 a night for a basic hotel room and commit to a 3-night stay.
Damn. We got 10 seconds. College football is one of the greatest things about America.
Right. Adam goes, is U2 the halftime show? Nope, the bands.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. It's a Philadelphia-Houston night. Football and baseball. Wasn't supposed to be. Get one rain out. That's what you get. What are the odds? The NFL back in what? Late April, early May, scheduled the Eagles at the Texans. They play the baseball season out over nearly 7 months. Who do we get in the World Series? Philadelphia and Houston. Hot damn. So the baseball teams will play in Philly and the football teams will play in Houston. Why not?
And if the football game does a significantly bigger number than the baseball, and I don't mean just big, because it may beat it. If it does, oh boy, baseball.
Yeah, see, I'm with you. I think if the game on Amazon beats the game on Fox, in which we don't know who's going to win the baseball game on Fox in a 2-2 series in which no teams win 2 games in a row. Meanwhile, Philadelphia is undefeated. Houston's damn near on the clock. Eagles are a 2-touchdown favorite on the road. Yeah, if I'm Major League Baseball and I can't win tonight, oofda. Oofda. I'm going drinking before game 6, let me tell you.
I mean, Amazon Prime and the Texans. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
That's all I'm saying, David.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Correct. And the Eagles are not a national team. Great fan base, not a national team. Now they get to 13-0. That might be a different story, but at 7-0, they're cute. It's, I'll watch it if there's nothing else on. Well, there's game 5 of the World Series. Oh, well, in that case.
Well, it's interesting. How big of a number will Saturday do? Because Georgia and Tennessee are not national teams. It's not Alabama or Ohio State. Georgia's got this much of a pulse nationally.
I think it will do a bigger number in 2022 than it'll do in either 24 or 26. Even though there will be playoff implications in 2 or 4 years whenever they go to a 12-team playoff. There will. This will be the difference between who makes the conference championship game or not. If you don't make your conference championship game, can you really get a top 4 seed? Probably not, which means you'll be seeded 5 through 8. Yes, you'll get a home game, but you don't get a bye. So, there will still be things at work in this Georgia-Tennessee game down the road. There will be. But, Mark, right now, you have to assume this is an elimination game. And I think what we've talked about over the years, what is the American sports fan, with as busy as we are and all the things that we know, pressed for time, attention spans, the whole deal. But you give us a game with consequences, we are in. And it doesn't matter the sport. We will find it and we will watch it. And if you're remotely paying attention to this sport, Mark, Isn't this an elimination game?
It really is. And the way you spelled it out earlier in the week, I think is right on, because if Tennessee loses, they would have to lose an epic game to somehow be considered. I mean, so many things would have to go right for Tennessee to then make one of the Final Four teams if they lose this game. For Georgia, I actually think it's worse.
Yeah, they're
if
done.
they lose the game. They're done.
Yeah, it's difficult to imagine even a wholly blank scenario where there's chaos, where there's 2011, where when Alabama lost to LSU and 7 things had to go Alabama's way to get back in the title game. Well, if Georgia loses, they probably need a half a dozen things to happen for them to get serious consideration to be the 4 seed.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If Georgia loses, they'll still be ranked ahead of TCU in the college football.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, come on now.
It's an SEC show. But
right. I mean, if they lose by like 1 on a missed 2-point conversion, they may be ranked ahead of Clemson and Michigan, for goodness sakes. But come on.
Can I ask a really simple question that I think has a more complex answer, though? Okay. Is Tennessee back? Or how close are they to being back? Okay. Because this guy can coach.
I'm not ducking the question. I will answer the question. I just need a clarification. This is a game show. You're the host. I'm asking for a clarification. Can you read me the definition of back?
Contending at a very minimum for their side's conference championship on an annual basis. Because if you're doing that in the SEC, then you're back, David.
I would have to say no. Would be my gut. They've had a lot of things go right this year. They've also, they're not going to have this quarterback. And it's a big difference. You got one of these guys, a huge difference.
But how much do you think are they getting to the future of getting quarterbacks, because they're playing a different offense? And this looks to me to be an offense. If I'm at that Elite 11 camp, I'm going, I've got to be considering Tennessee as a place to play my college football. And we know they've got their NIL going on, and they're doing all the other things right.
The reason I would say no, but I could easily be proven wrong next year, but I need to see it next year, is it was just 5 years ago, Mark, that Miami was 10-0 in the 3rd week of November. And we thought Miami was back with Mark Richt. And it was just 2 years ago that Florida was beating Georgia and finishing in the top 10 in 3 consecutive seasons. And they were going to Atlanta and giving an Alabama team that won the national championship going away all they could handle. So I have to see it next year, because by 2018, we knew Miami was not back. And by 2021, we knew, that was a one-off. So I need to see proof in the pudding next year. And it doesn't mean they've got to beat Alabama again and they got to beat Georgia and they got to go to Atlanta. But you know what I mean. They got to follow up this year with 9-3 next year, in which you look around and you go, wow, they got a really good roster. They're back.
Well, and can this style work? Because this doesn't lend itself to much of a defense. And can he get the guys on the other side of the ball where I'm not saying he has to win a 21-14 game, David. You know what I'm saying. To have the players there where you can get a pass rush and interrupt another team.
Yeah, Mark, I actually think that the college game has changed so much that not only do I think his style can work, I actually think you're seeing with how Kirby has opened up the offense this year and allowing Stetson to throw it about a dozen more times than he allowed him to throw it last year. Mark, I think college coaches have now come to the conclusion you got to get in the 30s to win. And that minimum you got to get in the 30s. So not only do I think this style of offense can win, Mark, I think this style of offense by the middle of this decade is going to become the norm, because their coaches are going to look around and go, I got to get to 35-38 to win. And that's not how most coaches have been thinking up until really recently.
Doesn't bode well for Jimbo unless he wants to move that offense. I mean, I know we're talking about Tennessee, but I can't help but thinking about what Texas A&M's trying to accomplish because they're not trying to play in the high 30s.
Well, we've wondered in the NFL, can you win with your defense being the dominant unit? Is the 2021 Georgia Bulldogs going to be the last college football team that wins with the defense being better than the offense? I mean, could very well be. It really could. When's the last time the Alabama defense was better than the Alabama offense? This is Nick Saban in Alabama. And when's the last time his defense was better than his offense? 5, 6 years ago?
Every bit of it. Every bit of it.
Sports changing, Mark.
Miller and Moulton. We'll wrap things up for a Thursday on the other side, the Florida Sports Network.
Waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
That Chuck?
God, I love him. I know. So let me get this straight. We've had cheating in fishing and now cheating in cornhole.
Correct. We got weights and fish, and we got illegal bags.
Hold up. How are they illegal?
They're not the right size.
Smaller bag, easier to get in the hole, I guess.
Well, so each team's responsible for their own bags?
Apparently. It's like Tom Brady deflating the footballs, David.
Huh. Okay.
I said that with a straight face, by the way.
I know you did, but actually that explains it, because at the time the NFL made the teams responsible for their own footballs. So that's
David,
how that.
It is literally the lead story on the Post right now.
Well, come on. We love the New York Post, you and I do.
I know, but they've got a cornhole controversy. It's bigger than weights and fish.
See what happened when the Mets and the Yankees are out of the playoffs and it's not the weekend yet?
Well, you can call it if you want, average Vikings fan, but it's being dubbed Baggate. So if you want to call them sacks, call them sacks. It's being dubbed Baggate.
Well, which is it? Are they too big or too small?
Too small.
Too small.
Smaller than regulation.
And this helps why?
Well, smaller ball goes in hole easier.
Gotcha. Okay.
Smaller bag.
Gotcha. RCB, the pitcher, did not have a foreign substance. He was rubbing sweat on the ball. He was actively rubbing sweat on the ball. It's been done for years. It will continue to be done. You can literally take your hat off, wipe your brow with your hand, put the hat back on, and put the hand on the ball and work the ball. You can put sweat on the ball.
Someone was impressed of your use of the word oofta earlier.
Thank you. That's in my ode to Vern right there every time I go oofta.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes until the hour is up, 17 minutes until we're done." Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Tomorrow, it's truly a football Friday because the World Series is taking the day off. So that's what we've got. And we'll do our, Lee Sterling went 4-0-1 on his picks last week. Got his game of the week right. Got his football play of the year right last week. By the way, we've had a few people, because I know the touts are like, under fire, because you're not going to believe this. Some of them are not on the up and up. I know. It's shocking. Some of the sports betting touts are not on the up and up. You can go and this is why Lee Sterling is on our show. It is. When Miller and Moulton teamed up, Mark had Lee on his show. Mark had heard Lee on my show. And Mark said, listen, if we're going to do Lee, we have to document his picks. Otherwise, I won't do it. And I went, okay. And we told Lee.
And Lee was great. Lee was
great.
Because, Lee would come on and Dave was like, he got his game of the week right. And I'm like, who did he pick? Dave's like, I don't know. He said he got I trust him. He said he's got his game of the week right. I'm like, no, I don't trust anybody. And so you're going to text me the game of the week right after you pick it. And when Lee started coming up, when he started getting into the 40-unit plays, and it was not really reluctantly, but sheepishly, I said, Lee, you got to kind of give us those. I can't have you come on the show and say, hey, I hit my play of the year if I don't know what your play of the year was.
Right.
And he's given us every one, and it's documented. He's missed 2. I think he's missed 3. He's missed 3 40-unit plus plays since he's done our show. And he's hit 20.
And over the last any number of years, I think he's 54-18 on his 40-plus unit plays. And he's had his last 5 years worth of picks are documented on his website. And you could take a look. He had a 4-week run last year, which was not good. It was it wasn't Moulton-esque, but it was Miller-esque. All right. That's fair to say, right?
You got that right.
Right. So anyway, Lee Sterling on the show tomorrow. I went back to having a losing week, but the 8-year-old went 4-1, so she's back. And
said to me last night, sitting there, she just said, she goes, I really thought Clemson was going to win.
Look at that already thinking about the 1 and not the 4. I love it.
It's my girl right there. I'm so proud of her.
Wow, she's a pro. You taught her how to play gin. Now she knows how to bet. Let me tell you, she is gonna by middle school, she is just going to own people. She's going to have so much money in her pocket.
It's really why we may have to send her to a Catholic school. This isn't going to work in a public school.
Not enough illegal betting in a public school. Got to send her to the Catholic school. Is that it?
Well, you could probably, she's running a book at a public school. You could get in trouble.
I know it.
School, the priest is just going to say, "Can I get 50 on the Eagles?"
Well, exactly. In fact, the principal may call her in, and the good father may go, "Listen, do you want to run ours? This is just between us, okay? Because our office pool, we don't quite have a steady. So why don't you do your thing? We'll look the other way and do our office pool. You got it."
I will say one of the 2 priests at our church is a diehard Eagles fan. So
yes, he is.
I got roped into a little after church thing, and I go along. Whatever the wife says on Sunday, I do. So we went to the breakfast after the church, and I see Father, and I walked up to him, and I said, "So," this is before the Steelers game, and I just said, "So, how you feeling about Eagles and undefeated?" And he goes into wheeze, starts lining up the schedule.
Wait,
one game, start talking in cliches. I'm going, what the hell is this? Come on. Don't you have any inside info?
Well, not only that, Father, I thought when you went it was, a little bigger.
That we.
Yeah. So it's just the Eagles? Oh, okay. So what is it? Him? Her? I'm a little confused here.
He did finish the All Saints Day Mass on November 1st by saying, "Go enjoy the World Series."
Love him. I love him.
Absolutely fantastic.
He's all in.
Time now for
Lee Sterling, the Pat Kerwin, whatever, and
Chris
Landry, and we'll bet against us. There you go. That's tomorrow.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Some interesting things happened today. John Adams elected president, Ulysses Grant elected president, William McKinley elected president, all in the 1800s. Adams 1796. 1899, I love these, David. Heavyweight championship fight, James Jeffries retains the title, beating Tom Sharkey on points in 25 rounds.
Wow, they went to the judges' scorecards after 25.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
1911, Chevy enters the automobile market in competition with the Model T. 1930, the Bank of Italy. In the first big successful marketing move, I say in banking, they renamed themselves to Bank of America. Probably a smart move. 1936, FDR wins his second term in office.
He was just getting started.
Yeah, the most lopsided election in the history in terms of the electoral vote.
And I will say this, when you can do that in the middle, well, actually, we were a little past the middle, but when you can do that and we're still in the Great Depression, boy, the other candidate must have sucked.
Today in 42, Ted Williams wins the American League's Triple Crown, but Yankees pitcher Joe Gordon is named American League MVP. How is that even possible?
Remember, the year before, he hit 406. DiMaggio is MVP because 3 sports writers didn't even put him on their ballot, and they could put 10 guys on their MVP ballot. If all 3 had voted him 10th, he would have won.
1956, The Wizard of Oz is televised for the first time, hosted by Bert Lahr and a 10-year-old Liza Minnelli. 1957, the Soviets launched Sputnik 2 with a space dog aboard, the first animal in space. Today in 62, Chamberlain scores 72. It was then the 4th highest point total in NBA history. It remains the 6th highest total. Today in 83, the Nashville Network begins on cable.
Ooh, TNN.
Yeah, taught us all how to line dance. 85, Bill Elliott wins the Atlanta Journal 500 to become the first driver to win 11 super speedways in one season and the first driver to win $2 million in prize money.
It's a little different now.
1990, Mo Malone takes over Oscar Robertson's records for most free throws made in a career. Over 7,600 at that time. Today in 92, 3 things happened. Clinton gets elected. Whitney Houston releases I Will Always Love You. It would be the song of the year in 93. And rock band Rage Against the Machine releases their debut album. It's really good. The first 3 songs hold up. Today in 94, Glenn Robinson signs the most lucrative rookie contract in NBA history, a 10-year, $68 million deal with the Bucks.
And it was the contract that changed the NBA. It was the contract in which the veteran players looked at one another and said, what the heck? Seriously? We've got to change this. And it took them 5 years, but they did.
And today in 96, Kobe, at 18 years, 2 months, and 11 days, makes his NBA debut, then the youngest player to make it. Those born today that are no longer with us. Stephen F. Austin. Bronco Nagurski. Just so happy I could say Bronco Nagurski on the show. Bob Feller, and for your mom, David, Charles Bronson.
Oh, wow, Mom, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Take a moment. It'll be okay.
Born 101 years ago today. Michael Dukakis is 89. Larry Holmes is 73. Dwight Evans is 71. Roseanne Barr and Dennis Miller are 70. Adam Ant, 68. Phil Simms, 67. Dolph Lundgren, I must break you, is 65. And Colin Kirkpatrick is 35 years old today. And that, David, is today was the day when.
Wow. Dennis Miller is 70.
Yeah.
Huh. Tough to still be considered edgy at 70.
I don't know. I think it's pretty easy to be edgy today, no matter how old you are.
I guess so. He calls into Pat's show on
Right.
NFL radio. Yeah. And he usually only does it when he hears it, what he would say is an idiot caller. And he knows the number to call in and around and call on the hotline. And he says to the producer, get me on. Tell Jim and Pat it's Dennis Miller. He calls on. He says, yeah, Joe in Los Angeles is an idiot. Nice to have that kind of status. You can just call the hotline and go, that last caller's a moron. Put me on. Okay.
I like it.
I remember where I was when it happened. On this day in 98, Jesse the Body Ventura elected governor of Minnesota. There was a debate. You know, the Vikings went 15-1 that year. And Moss was a rookie, and they were the rage. And there was like 2-3 weeks left in the campaign. And Ventura's in 3rd place. And the guy who was Arnie Carlson is the front runner, Democrat. And he doesn't go to the debate. He goes to the Vikings game instead. And it was a debate about education. And Ventura took that ball and for the next 2 weeks crushed the candidates with it. And I remember the day before the election, we were like, is Jesse Ventura going to win? And he did. So that's what I got, Mark, 98.
Fair enough. We usually don't go gubernatorial races, but we don't often have wrestlers win those races.
Right. I mean, it's the body. I mean, come on.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
For the good, we go to Elva.
All right.
Ross Chastain. Renee Johnson was doing a little shopping at Publix. She found out on her way out to being done with shopping that Charlie Rocket, who has spent weeks in Fort Myers traveling in an RV he calls the Dream Machine, looking for people who have been impacted by Ian. Renee runs a group home for men with disabilities. The facility had severe damage. That's when Charlie walked up to Renee and handed her a check for $10,000.
Oh, wow.
Right. Total shock to her. Great job by Charlie Rocket in his Dream Machine. For the bad, we go to Texas, where you and I would never have to worry about this problem, David. But authorities in Texas had to work with first responders to rescue a deer hunter who was stuck upside down 18 feet clinging to a tree stand.
Oh, boy.
He had his bow. It was bow season, not gun season. He was climbing up the tree stand when apparently it lost its security, flipped over upside down. His foot was wedged in the corner. He hung there for several hours. Fortunately, had his phone, was able to dial 911, and they were able to get him out. But not before hanging upside down for several hours in a deer stand. For the ugly, we go to Tampa, where we don't know who the ugly is, but we know she's a rotten person. Andy Singor has a YouTube channel, like a lot of us do. His might actually be watched by a few people, but it was for this because apparently on Halloween, he was out trick-or-treating with the kids. He left the buckets of candy. Come by and take one. When an adult woman in a barmaid costume did not dump one, but both of the buckets into her own bucket and left.
It's a lot of buckets.
It's a lot of candy for an adult on Halloween. That is a capital crime, in my opinion, taking candy away from the kids. My daughter won't even give me any of hers. And this lady's just taking all of it. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, November the 3rd, 2022.
And your wife won't let you have any of hers either.
Don't even get me started with her. Fully told me that I have no willpower.
Okay.
And I wasn't deserving of having any candy in the house. She saw all the shrapnel after Halloween.
What do you mean? What? Not deserving? Wow.
She said, do you think you could resist temptation?
Well, no.
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 And she said, I'm just trying to help.
Why? You know what you should have said? Not to tell you what to do, but, you've had advice from me over the years. When she said, could you resist temptation? You should have looked right at her and said, well, no, that's why we're married.
You know what? You're very right.
At which point she would have gone out and bought you your own bag of candy.
Damn it, Jim. Missed that one again.
You did. That could have been a big winner.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
That could have made Wednesday night make it happen night. I mean, golden opportunity there. All right, Game 5 World Series. Is Verlander finally going to win a World Series game? I say yes.
I hope so. I really hope so. I hope he pitches great tonight.
He's going up against Syndergaard, who's already won a World Series game. He dominated the Royals in Game 3 in 2015. Series tied at 2, 8 o'clock on Big Fox. Meanwhile, on Big Amazon, also at 8, Eagles and Texans. Phillies, just a 13.5-point favorite. Over under 45.5. Basically 30-16, give or take a half a point is what Vegas is saying. Dr. Roto said take Miles Sanders. Big fantasy play tonight. He's going to run all over the Texans.
Everybody's running all over the Texans. That has been very consistent this football season.
Lightning hosting the Hurricanes. Panthers on the West Coast at San Jose. Magic hosting Steph and Golden State tonight at 7 o'clock. Miller and Moulton. Have a great day. We'll do it again tomorrow.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the bayfront